Shalom, Israel.
Shalom.
All right, welcome to another class. The class is called The Lust Factor, but first and foremost, we want to give a shout out to all the brothers and sisters out there, isbhpk Houston, Norfolk, Virginia, Rochester, New York, California, Albuquerque,
Houston,
Guatemala, London, Amiatazai in London. I want to say shalom to all the brothers out there, and we also want to say it was a successful Feast of Weeks that we just celebrated, and we enjoyed each other's company and had a chance to serve the Most High in a great capacity with fellowship and good food. The water for the sisters for taking the time out to bring some good food. You know, stand through down on the barbecue. Yep. Real good time.
Great energy.
Good energy. Real peaceful ceremony. You know, so I want to say for all those that came out for the Feast of Weeks, otherwise known in the New Testament as a Pentecost, 50 days celebration. Matter of fact, give me Deuteronomy chapter 16 verse 16 just to start it off real quick.
Got it.
Right.
Deuteronomy chapter 16 verse 16. 3 times in a year.
It says 3 times in a year. What?
3 times in a year.
Go ahead.
Shall all males.
So this is real critical. The Most High said 3 times in a year shall all what?
Shall all males.
Read on.
Appear before the Lord thy God.
It says we got all males. This is a full participation event for all males.
Yep.
And we didn't have a number or a true accurate count, but there was a lot of males, both adults and teenagers and young children, male children. Go ahead.
And the place which ye shall choose.
Go ahead.
And the feast of unleavened bread.
Go ahead. That's one event where you can't miss. That's a mandatory event. Read on.
And in the feast of weeks.
And the feast of what?
And the feast of weeks.
And that's what we just celebrated. We just came off the Feast of Weeks. So we had a great Feast of Weeks celebration, honoring the Most High. Read on.
And in the Feast of Tabernacles.
And that's coming up in probably around September. We'll check the calendar on that. And the Feast of Tabernacles, that's another event that we can't miss. All males, bring your families, bring your household, bring yourselves. Read on.
And they shall not appear before the Lord empty.
And this is what we got a chance to really see, that everybody came out. They came out with something to offer, and that's what I wanted to bring out, was the fact that we can't bring something to a harvest or a feast event, a holy convocation, empty-handed. You know, and I want to say I appreciate everybody that brought something to the table. You know, whether it was some fruit, cut fruit, sliced fruit, vegetables, whatever it is. You know, they brought something to the table. You know, they had something to bring, because what that's showing the Most High is that by not coming empty-handed, what you're telling the Most High is that I appreciate everything you've done from the time of the Feast of Unleavened Bread, counting 50 days. You've increased my harvest. Yeah. You've increased my field. You've helped my field yield something. So in return, I'm bringing an offering. Read on.
Verse 17. Every man shall give as he is able.
And it's not like the Most High has commanded that you give an exponential amount above your capability. The Most High said every man give how?
As he is what?
As he is able.
As he is able. So this is not above your expectation. The Most High has blessed each and every one of us with something to bring to the table, and that's what the Most High wants to see. Do you have something to offer? And it's within your capacity. Read on.
According to the blessing of the Lord thy God, which he hath given thee.
But it's based on according to the what?
According to the blessing of the Lord thy God, which he had given thee.
So you measure your offering based upon how the Most High has exalted you within that 50-day process, based upon how the Most High has expounded your herds or your flocks or your cattle, or whatever it is that the Most High has expanded it and blessed you with. You give the Most High a portion of that increase. So the Most High. So that means that because we serve a good power, we serve a loving power, a one that says he loves the prosperity of his servants. So that nobody should come to these events empty-handed. So we didn't see that at all. So I want to say shout out and shalom to all the brothers that came in.
And the righteous giving spirits amongst us.
And a very giving spirit. And it was more than enough. I mean, there was more than enough when everybody brought something to the table. I mean, you couldn't, it was overwhelming. The blessings runneth over, man. Come. And that's just an indicator to show how wonderful the Most High has been to us as a camp and a body. And he blesses the unity. There was no confusion, no arguments, no bickering, no dissension,
no stupidity.
No stupidity. It was a wonderful experience to see all the adults, brothers, women, children, and the families together, eating together, serving one another, and fellowshipping together. So we want to say the water for coming out on that as well. And that's for the Most High. And hopefully that same spirit will be regenerated at the Feast of Tabernacles. And if you haven't done a Feast of Tabernacles or celebrated the Feast of Tabernacles, we'll go into that later on as well. We'll go into that topic as well. But let's go ahead and get started on this particular topic, because we've been noticing an increase in viewership, and some of us have had time to really get an understanding of what we teach as a doctrine, as a school, as Israelites. And there's a lot of new viewers, and we want to make sure that we speak to those new viewers as well as those that's been around. So we want to go ahead and the topic of the class is called the lust factor, and this is something that you got to be aware of, whether you're brand new, medium level development, or you're experienced, or you've been around for a while. You always got to be conscious of what can turn your heart from the Most High at all times. When you look at Solomon, right? What was Solomon's downfall?
It wasn't gold and silver.
Say it again.
Women, strong influence of women.
But what kind of women? Just women?
Other nations.
Women of what? Other nations representing what?
Different gods.
Different gods, right? Now, did that happen to Solomon when he was young?
No.
But it happened when?
As he diminished in age.
As he diminished in age. So as he got older, he started losing his discipline and his disposition, mental disposition of righteousness. So it shows you that there could be a decline. It doesn't matter if you're brand new or you're old. Mm-hmm. There can always be a decline if you're not careful, if you're not observant and circumspect about what's going on around you. So first scripture we're going to is 2 Ezra chapter 8, and let's get the first reader, verse 15. Whoever got it. We're going to 2 Ezra chapter 8. We're reading verse 15.
2 Ezra chapter 8 and verse 15. Whenever you're ready, brother.
All right, let everybody get it. All right, go ahead and read that.
2 Ezra chapter 8 and verse 15. Now therefore, Lord, I will speak touching men in general.
He said Ezra is speaking on man's behalf, but mankind in general. But he's going to become more specific. He's speaking initially to mankind in general, to the Most High. Read on.
Though thou knowest best.
He says the Most High, regarding man, the Most High knows what?
Best.
When it comes to man, the Most High knows what?
Man's tendencies.
So what does that mean when the scriptures say, or someone said the Most High knows best?
He's well versed into their mannerisms, characteristics, thought processes, and their way of life.
And what it takes to allow them to grow. And what it takes them to be groomed discipline-wise, spiritually, to elevate them in any kind of capacity, intellectually, morally, spiritually, what can bring them up and build them up. So the Most High knows best in all capabilities of how to make a man grow or a woman grow. The Most High knows best. Read on.
But touching thy people.
But now Ezra is being more specific. When it concerns the so-called Negroes, Puerto Ricans, Cubans, Dominicans, Mexicans, Argentinians, Brazilians, North Central and South Americans of Negro and Indian descent, the lost sheep of the house of Israel, he said concerning those people in particular, read on.
But touching thy people, for whose sake I am sorry.
He says, for these people in particular, my heart hurts for these people. He said, my heart goes out to these people. He said, for these people, I'm sorry. I'm afflicted because of the condition that these particular people are in. Read on.
And for thine inheritance.
And for thine inheritance. Read on.
For whose cause I mourn.
He says, for these people, their cause I what?
Mourn.
He said, I mourn for these people. My heart goes out to these people. Sounds very familiar to what Paul said in Romans chapter 10, verse 1. Somebody read that real quick.
Okay. Romans chapter 10, verse 1. Brethren, my heart desires.
It said, Paul said the same thing. He said, my heart's desire, meaning my affection, is towards a particular people. He said, my heart's desire. Go ahead.
My heart desire and prayer.
And what?
And prayer.
And who was Paul praying for? Go ahead.
To the Most High for Israel.
For who?
For Israel.
So
for Israel.
Just like Ezra was, his heart, his affection, his sorrow was for the nation of Israel. looking at their condition, Paul said the same thing. My heart goes out to these individuals, and my prayers are for these people. Read on.
For Israel,
Go ahead.
that they might be saved.
That they might be what?
For they might be saved.
It says, so Paul wanted nothing more than the children of Israel to be saved, regardless of what churches said. His heart, his mind, and his affection was always for Israel. Let that go and go back to where we was at in 2nd Ezra.
2nd Ezra chapter 8, verse 16. And for thine inheritance,
Go ahead.
for whose cause I mourn.
It's the same thing Ezra is saying. Man, these people got my heart, man. In their condition, my heart goes out to these individuals.
And the word's cause, 828, means forsake. It means sake or account.
Mm.
So he's looking at our account. He's measuring the plus and minuses of our nation and us as individuals.
I like
He's
that.
properly measuring us as a nation. He's not just making a blanket statement without actually considering the consistent themes that we deal with as a nation, and we deal with as a camp, and we do it as individuals. So he said, whose cause I what?
Cause I mourn.
On the account. He's looking at the account. He's actually measuring, because this guy is a shepherd. He's a master shepherd. So he's properly trying to assess his sheep so he can get them into Christ or close to Christ. He's like, man, for this people's situation, I'm mourning on their account. Because we don't even mourn on our own account. Israel is so disconnected and blind from the Father, we don't even understand how much we're affecting ourselves.
Right.
So he's like, I feel sorry for them, even though they don't feel sorry for themselves.
You know, because the scripture does say we're like sheep led to the what?
Slaughter.
To the slaughter. Read on.
And for Israel,
And for Israel, read on.
for whom I am heavy.
He says, man, for these people I'm what?
Heavy.
I'm heavy-hearted, man. I'm sorry, I'm sad. I'm in a bad place concerning these particular people. Read on.
And for Jacob,
And for Jacob, read on.
for whose sake I am troubled.
Go ahead.
Therefore will I begin to
He
pray.
says, therefore I will begin to what?
Pray.
To pray. Why? Why is his heart and his affection going out to our people? Read on.
Before thee, for myself and for
He
them.
said, I pray for myself and I pray for who?
For them.
Why? Read on.
For I see the falls of us.
He says, for I see the what?
The falls of us.
Now, notice that he said, I see the falls of us. Meaning that falls is plural. That's more than one. He didn't say, I see the fall of us. He said, I see the falls of us. Meaning what?
There's many ways we fall.
There's many what?
Many ways we fall.
There's many ways that we fall as a people.
The word fall definition, to depart from the faith or from rectitude.
I like that. To depart from the what?
To depart from the faith or from rectitude.
All right. Or from rectitude.
To die.
Moral rectitude. So he says to depart from the faith. There's many ways that we fall. And that's why it says falls, plural. We fall in a variety of ways. Our people collapse. Our people come to certain ailments.
Another one.
To be degraded.
It says to be degraded, to sink, and to disrepute. Disrepute.
Or disgrace.
Or disgrace. To be plunged into misery. To fall from an elevated station or
Now-
from a prosperous state.
What you got?
It says to decline in quality, activity, or quantity.
I like that, to decline. But I like what he just read right here too. He says to fall from a what? An elevated state.
Come.
Now that sounds familiar, like how the sons of the Most High that was esteemed as fine gold now esteemed as earthen pitchers.
4-1 Lamentations.
Right. Like now they've come from they were looked at upon the eyes of the Most High as gold. Now the Most High looks at them as earthen pitchers. Their value has diminished.
Our lives don't matter.
Their value has declined. Now we gotta wear shirts to say Black Lives Matter, brown and proud. We gotta wear shirts to tell other people to respect us. Because we've lost any respect whatsoever in society as a people. We gotta command justice and demand it. But he said this happens to our people. Verse 17.
God, 2nd Ezra chapter 8 and verse
Finish that.
17.
He says, for I see the falls
For I see the falls of us that dwell in the land.
that dwell in the land. Now what are some of the conditions that he sees? Go to Ecclesiasticus in the Apocrypha chapter 11 verse 11. 11 verse 11.
Wow. You got it.
You can bring that out too.
Ecclesiastes
It's perfect.
chapter 11 and verse 11.
Can I put-
Everybody
can-
get it.
can I put this point real quick?
Let them get it. It's going to be on the same thing.
Oh, same thing. Okay,
Yeah,
perfect. We're good.
but hold that. That's perfect. Read that.
Ecclesiasticus in the Apocrypha, chapter 11 and verse 11. There is one that laboreth.
It says there's one that what?
Laboreth.
Now there's some of us that work hard, man, and there's no doubt that we put in a lot of work. There's no doubt that we try. There's a lot of us that really try to give the Most High our best. Read on.
And taketh pain.
And it's difficult in the process. Nobody says the children of Israel don't work. They do. It says they labor, they take pains. Read on.
And maketh haste.
And they go quickly. They do it as fast as possible. So they work hard. They put in some strenuous activity. Read on.
And is so much the more behind.
But they're still what?
The more behind.
They're still falling. They're still falling. Or what's that definition that you just had? That last definition.
Fall. It says, ninth point, to pass into a worse state than the former.
So meaning I'm working, and I'm trying my best, but I'm actually falling behind, even though I'm pushing forward. That's almost fruitless.
Wow.
It's almost fruitless because I'm trying my butt off. I'm working my butt off. I'm putting in some hard work, but I can't get ahead.
Come.
I can't move forward. He said these are the estates and the conditions that the children of Israel are in. They put in a lot of hard work, but the harder they work, the less they seem like they can get ahead, the more they fall behind. Read on.
It says.
Hold on. Finish that verse.
That was the end of that verse.
Okay. Keep reading.
You want 12?
Yeah, I want 12.
Come. Ecclesiastes chapter 11 verse 12. Again, there is another that is slow.
But on the flip side, there's another that's what?
Slow.
Slow. Go ahead.
Come.
And hath need of help.
And have need of help. Go ahead.
Wanting
Go ahead.
ability.
And he lacks ability. Read on.
Lacking skills.
And full of poverty.
Wow.
And he's behind. Read on.
Yet the eye of the Lord looked upon him for good.
But yet the eye of the Lord look upon him for good. Read on.
And set him up
And set him up. Go ahead.
from his low estate.
Wow.
From his low estate. Showing you that these are the two conditions that the children of Israel can be found in. Some work hard as hell and still behind, and some are behind, but they get ahead. So what is that showing us? Just on those two dichotomies right there, what is that showing us already?
The Most High has us what He wants us.
Bingo. You said it right there.
Perfect.
That's exactly the answer. The Most High is in control. The Most High is in control of our estate, and that's something that we have to understand in order to put everything in perspective. That I could work my butt off, and that don't mean I'm going to get ahead because I'm working my butt off. That doesn't mean I'm going to advance myself because I put forth what I thought was the golden effort. And then there's some that don't have the wherewithal to be able to process things and put things together, but the Most High raises them up and puts them on their feet and sets them up from a lower state. So it goes to show you how much more the Most High is in control than what we give him credit for. So what some of these things, some of these falls that we just read about in Ezra is the fact that we don't understand that the Most High is in control. And so there begins this vexation of spirit that I've been trying to change, I've been trying to do right, but I don't see the fruit of it. I don't see the purpose of why I'm working so hard, but I don't see development. I don't see growth.
I'm trying to be a good rib. I'm trying to be a good brother. I'm trying to go to class. I'm trying to study. I'm trying to be a good worker. I'm trying to be a good young junior teacher.
Yep.
I'm trying to be a good Israelite. I'm trying to be a good dad. I'm trying to be a good child.
Yep.
But we're in this dichotomy that you're bringing up.
Yep. And that fall, sometimes the fall is just not recognizing that the Most High has control over my situation. And that drives us crazy.
So you're saying it's a lack of understanding?
It is a lack of understanding. Some of us fight for control, or we want control. And you can try all you want and you won't get ahead. You can do it. You can do things your way. You can map it out. You can plan it out.
Master plan.
You can have a master plan.
Yeah.
You can devise a scheme. You can put together a fail-proof system, and it'll still fail.
Damn.
And because it fails, we get brokenhearted.
And we get mad at the Most High. We get mad at ourselves.
We take it out on the people around us.
Come.
Because I don't see myself developing or growing. Or I tried and this didn't work. This failed. Because we have to understand that our falls come in different shapes and sizes. One way we fall is we don't recognize who's in control. Read on down.
God. Ecclesiastes 11 and verse 13. And lifted up his head from misery,
Go ahead.
so that many that saw it marveled at him.
Go ahead.
Prosperity and adversity.
Now listen what he says. He says what?
Prosperity.
He said prosperity is good success. He said prosperity and what else?
And adversity.
Affliction and hard times. Go ahead.
Life.
Life. What else?
And death.
Read on.
Wisdom.
Wisdom. Go ahead.
Salaki. Poverty
Poverty.
and riches
Go ahead.
come of the Lord.
What is he showing?
It's all from the Most High's hands.
It's all from the Most High. You know what he's showing? You don't control anything.
Don't we lie? We be lying though.
We
be lying.
We're misunderstood. We're misunderstood because we think that I can by my power change my situation. Yes, you can, but only to certain limits. Only to certain limits.
It must like I said.
Yeah. There's a cap.
There's a cap.
Sometimes there's a cap on development or growth.
Come.
And you're like, man, I tried everything in my power and nothing changed. I'm still in the same situation. And this becomes discouraging, especially to people's faith. And now my faith starts to wane, and my faith and my hope starts to lack. And then I start to look for alternative ways of getting around or becoming successful.
Can I ask this question?
Mm-hmm.
Is that the classic story of Israel's idol worship?
You could say
classically.
You could say it's the beginning of what puts us in a mind frame of I have to become a bit ambitious, and I have to solve my own problems, and I have to become self-serving, because I can't wait on anybody else. I can't wait on the church. I can't wait on the people. I got to do this by myself. I can't wait. The Most High is taking too long. So it kind of sends us searching in the wrong direction.
To sink into an era of dejection, discontent, anger, sorrow, or shame. That's another definition of fall. To sink into discontent.
Then now I'm discontent. I'm not content. I'm not satisfied with my situation, because I feel like I'm doing this in vain. Now the vanity, I'm wasting my time now. I'm doing this for nothing.
I became Israelite and I thought my situation would get better, and it did on a basic level.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't have what I want, I don't have the situation I really desire.
Right. And that becomes an uncomfortable position to be in. Yes, sir.
No, I just had scripture about what you were saying earlier about waiting on the Most High.
Okay.
It was Romans 12 and 12. It says, "Rejoice and hope."
You gotta read. You gotta speak up. I want the camera. I want
The camera gotta hear you, sir.
It says Romans 12 and 12. Rejoice in hope. Be patient in tribulation, and be constant in prayer.
Be constant in prayer.
Scripture.
Those are solutions to the situation that I'm in when I don't have control.
Okay.
Especially when I don't have control. Then I'm forced to have patience. I'm forced to be patient. I'm forced to pray to the Most High, because I don't have any control. I have to intercede and ask for the Most High's help. So a lot of us fall because when we get in this position, we don't understand who's controlling this particular position, where you can't advance your life any further than what you think you can. And it's beyond your power. And this position puts people in uncomfortable states, and they start to decline.
Yeah.
So from there, let's go to Ecclesiastes in the Bible.
Okay.
Chapter 7, verse 15.
Ecclesiastes in the Bible. 7:15. So we know that our state comes from the Most High. We know that the condition, there's two different conditions.
Yep.
Either I'm going to rise or I'm going to fall.
And the Most High is in control of both of those conditions.
That's what people don't see.
That's what they don't see.
7 verse what?
7 verse 15.
Mm-hmm.
Do not some of us fall in that state? Because even in that position, we have a certain expectation or like you were talking about, our plan that we have. Like, okay, when I come into this truth, it's going to be like this. I can do this. I can do X, 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 and X, and I'm going to achieve this. This is going to happen. We have this false narrative of what's supposed to happen, like we control it.
You know what that is? It's telling the Most High what He better do. Because that's the mind frame that we get into. The Most High, because I'm doing this amount of work for the Lord, He better hear me.
Like a bartering system.
Yeah, He better come through, or He better give me what I'm asking, and He better hear me. Now I'm putting demands on the Most High. Okay, you got my attention, you got my labor, you have my mind. Now where's my blessing?
Don't try to arrest the Most High.
You know what I'm saying? And we get into this tug of war or this arm wrestle with the Most High as if we can force His hand, not recognizing where the blessing comes from. Sometimes it's better that He puts us in that position so that we can learn patience and to trust in Him. But a lot of times we try to make our own way and answer our own issues and solve our own problems, and then self-medicate. Read that right there, Ecclesiastes in the Bible, chapter 7, verse 15.
God, Ecclesiastes chapter 7 verse 15. All things have I seen in the days of my vanity.
Go ahead.
There is a just man.
He said sometimes you see a good man. That's a good man. Read. Good. Good.
There is a just man that perishes in his righteousness.
Damn, this man is a good man, and he perishes, and he doesn't get to see the end result of his positivity. He doesn't get to reap the benefits of all his good behavior. He doesn't get to reap the benefits of all of his struggles. And this man been struggling his butt off, and he been working his butt off and trying the best he can. He said there's a good man that doesn't what?
There is a just man that perishes in his righteousness.
Read on.
And there is a wicked man.
And there's a wicked man who is not just, who doesn't care about the Most High, who doesn't care about patience. He wants what he wants, and that's it. Read.
That prolongeth his life.
But this man seems like he gets away with it. Like, why did the good guy have to not see the end and the fruit of his hard work? But these wicked people that don't fear the Most High, it's almost like they get away with everything. They don't even try as hard.
Yeah.
And what? Somebody get the door?
A wicked man that prolongeth his life in his wickedness.
It says that prolongeth his life in his wickedness, and it seems like he gets to see, even though he's not focused, not faithful, not fearing the Most High, not diligent on these commandments, and he gets everything that he asked for, and he doesn't have the troubles that somebody that's righteous would have.
Yeah.
It's like that would almost seem like that's not fair.
Yeah.
Because that's what it would seem like. It would seem like it's not fair to the people that's trying. Damn, I try as hard as I can to do what I can, but to do what's right, and I still come up short. Read.
Come, verse 16. Be not righteous over much.
And once again, what is it showing us in this particular verse? It's showing us what?
You can't take on more than what the Most High wants you to.
Right, meaning you're still not in control. You're still not in control, and that inability to have control when we want it brings men down, and it's discouraging because I tried, man. I'm working hard.
So you're saying that a man's external situation can control how he feels on the inside?
Very much so. And this is why Solomon is going to give his advice. Knowing that you don't have control, knowing that you're limited in your power scope and what you can do on this earth. This is why his advice is this. Read on.
Come, be not righteous over much.
It says, don't be over righteous. Read on.
Neither make thyself over wise.
It says, and neither make thyself what?
Over wise.
Why?
Why shouldest thou destroy thyself?
He says, so what is he telling you by telling you this right here? What is he telling us?
Is he saying?
I want you to, you can answer.
Not to kill yourself doing too much, so you can force yourself to be better than everyone around you.
Right. Don't kill yourself trying to be perfect. He said, because read that one more time. I like what you said.
Come, Ecclesiastes chapter 7 verse 16. Be not righteous over much, Neither make thyself overwise.
He said, neither make thyself overwise. Because you know what happens when you accumulate? Go to Ecclesiastes 1 and 18.
Ecclesiastes, in the Apocrypha?
Yeah, Ecclesiastes, matter of fact, I think it's in the Bible. It's in the Bible. Ecclesiastes 1 and 18. Read that.
Come. Ecclesiastes chapter 1, verse 18. For in much wisdom
It said, for much wisdom, what?
is much grief.
The more you know, the more what?
Responsible.
The more responsible you are. The more you're responsible for. And the greater the expectation the Most High have from you. But he's not saying don't shoot for higher heights. What he's saying is don't kill yourself trying to be perfect. Because you don't control anything. And for people that have this compulsive disorder where everything has to be a certain way, what are they going to find out in time?
I have to have everything my way, everything structured my way. I can't sleep until things are structured and organized the way I want it to be. Because I want my domain to fit my comfort level or what my expectation.
The way I see it in my mind.
It's a controlling mindset. And that overwise is over analytical. Being overwise means you're over analytical. I'm overanalyzing relationships. I'm overanalyzing brothers. I'm overanalyzing what you put me
I'm
through.
overanalyzing my condition.
I'm overanalyzing. I don't know. It's been 377 days since the Most High has really given me what I really wanted.
You know, as a young man in the truth, I should say I'm still young in this truth. But when I first got in, I said, you know what? I work hard, man. I deserve. I used to use that word a lot.
Me too.
I deserve this.
Yep.
I used to tell myself what I deserve.
Yep.
This is only fair.
Yep.
That I get this, that I'm asking the Most High for. That shouldn't be too much to ask, because look at what I'm doing.
Yep.
And you know what you got? You're gonna find out when you got that I deserve mentality. You don't deserve nothing.
Yeah.
You get what the Most High give you, and if you don't have it, then you wait for it.
Yeah.
And obviously, if you didn't have it, then it wasn't meant to be. But when I got this overwise, I got this great expectation, you'll be disappointed left and right. You'll be constantly disappointed. And also for the people that have this controlling mind frame, the tides are going to change on you quite often. And the direction that that the Most High is taking you, you can't put things on your time frame as I better have this day off because I got this expectation, I got a date coming up, I'm going out, I'm on vacation, I have planned this for a whole year. Man, what you're going to find out is the Most High will ruin, wreck, change, and alter all
I'm
those
looking
plans.
forward to this situation.
Right. Because you map things out of your mind, the best way to be is to be fluid in the mind. And that's ultimately what he's saying. He's saying that you have to be flexible in your pursuit to serve the Most High. Meaning you can't be over righteous, over wise, over analytical. Read on.
You want 7?
Yeah, read verse 1 and 18. Finish that one more time.
Ecclesiastes chapter 1 verse 18. For much wisdom is much grief.
Read on.
And he that increaseth knowledge increaseth sorrow.
Increases sorrow, because I'm on the hook now. Now go back to where we was at in Ecclesiastes chapter 7 verse 16.
Ecclesiastes chapter 7 verse 16. Be not righteous over much, neither make thyself over wise. Why shouldest thou destroy thyself?
Go ahead.
Verse 17.
But listen to what he says on the flip side. Read.
Be not over much wicked.
He said, but be not over much what?
Wicked.
Don't be, just because you can't be perfect don't mean that you just be a no-limit soldier.
No limit.
Just don't be over wicked either. What? Read on.
Neither be thou foolish.
He said, and don't be foolish.
Wow.
So what is he explaining in these two verses?
You can't go extreme on either end.
You can't be extreme on either end. You can't be perfect, like everything must be perfect in my life, and that everything better go the way I planned it.
Or I'm not happy.
Or I'm not going to be happy. Or I'm not going to be content.
Yeah, that's real. That's a real thing.
You know what he's showing? You can't be extreme. That means you got to find a balance in serving the Lord. That means that but finding the balance in serving the Lord is finding a balance in my circumstance, in my situation. If my situation isn't perfect, that doesn't mean the Most High doesn't care about me. That doesn't mean that the Most High doesn't love me.
Forgot about me.
Or that he forgot about me. The Most High doesn't care about me. That doesn't mean that. Or that doesn't mean because I'm missing something that I have to solve my issues the way I see fit. that I got to discard the Bible and I got to go for self. Because I can't wait on the Most High. The Most High, he takes too long. I can't have that mentality where I got to become self-serving. And I become willful. And I become impudent and bold. I can't do that either. And I can't force the course of the river.
True.
Because a lot of times that's what we do. We force the course of the river.
That's why it's written, don't do it. Because he knows we're going to do it.
Right. He knows we're going to do it. Now go to Ecclesiastes chapter 7 verse 18.
Come, verse 8.
Finish
The
reading.
Bible?
In the Bible.
Why shouldest thou die before that time?
He said, don't be foolish and don't be over wicked and don't be foolish. He says, for why should thou what?
Die before that time.
So what he's saying is, that's why he called this life vanity. Because you'll never reach perfection, but that doesn't mean that you don't try. And just because you don't reach perfection necessarily, that doesn't mean that you be wicked either. And that you put yourself out of this life too soon. So ultimately, he's going to declare what mind frame or what condition should you be in. Read on.
Come, verse 18. It is good that thou shouldest take hold of this.
He said, it is good that thou shouldest take hold of this. Read on.
Yea, also from this withdraw not thy hand.
He says, and don't stop doing this. What is the one thing that he says you don't withdraw your hand from? Read.
For he that feareth the Most High.
He says, for he that what?
Feareth the Most High.
For he that feareth the Most High. Read on.
Shall come forth of them all.
So if you're in a situation where you don't have control, who's the winner of this situation?
The one that fears the Most High.
Bingo. That's the one that wins in this situation, in this condition. In this life where you don't have control, where you're forced to wait on the Most High, the winner of this situation or this circumstance is the one not that tries to force the course of the river, either being perfect, over righteous, or the one that just said, forget being righteous, it's too taxing on me. I'll never be able to make that or do that. I'm just going to go all the way to do what I want to do. It says the one that comes out as the victor in these circumstances is the one that fears who?
The Most High.
Is the one that fears the Most High. That's the one who comes out as the victor in this situation. So what he's showing you is you have to find a balance in serving the Lord and looking at fearing the Most High as your priority.
That's the priority. That's the priority.
That's the priority. That should be your priority, is fearing the Most High. You have no other control. You can't force a situation to be better than or more than what it is, because it's on the Most High's time frame to give it to you. Like he said, prosperity, all this comes, blessings, all this comes from the Most High. But a lot of times, being in this situation where we don't have control of our blessings, all these thoughts come on us. And then we engage in a multitude of pursuits that are fruitless.
That have already been done before in the past. Because there's nothing new under the sun.
And in particular is this. Go to 1 Corinthians chapter 7, verse 1.
First Corinthians chapter 7, verse 1. Now concerning the things whereof ye wrote unto me, it is good for a man not to touch a woman.
Now, what happens if you're in a situation where you don't have a woman? And you don't have. What happens if you're in a situation you don't have a woman? For a man. So,
Read it again.
Read it one more time.
Come. Now concerning the things whereof ye wrote unto me, it is good for a man not to touch a woman.
Now, if I'm in a condition, because remember, who controls my condition?
Most High.
The Most High controls my condition. So if I'm in a condition or a situation or circumstance where I don't have a woman, he says it is good that a man what?
Not to touch a woman.
Why would he say that?
No distraction.
Bingo. What you got?
No, yeah, I was gonna say because it takes you off what you're supposed to actually, where the Most High has you.
Because if I do, then I'm taking my mind away from. If the Most High has me in a situation where I don't have a woman, who put me in that situation?
The Most High.
So what would the Most High rather me do while I'm in the situation to show the Most High that I'm not trying to force the course of the river?
Focus on what He has you on.
Bingo. Perfect. Verse 35. Just to prove what you said. Go to verse 35.
Verse 35. And this I speak for your own profit.
And he said, and this I speak for what?
For your own profit.
Read on.
Not that I may cast a snare upon you.
He says, not that I want to create a conflict of interest. I'm not trying to cause a conflict of interest, and I'm not trying to cause you to not seek anything good. I'm not trying to disrupt your thought process and your pursuits. No conflict of interest. Read.
Not that I may cast a snare upon you.
Go ahead.
But for that which is comely.
He says, but I'm going to give you this advice for that which is attractive and good and beneficial for you. Which is what? Read on.
And that ye may attend upon the Most High without distraction.
He says, this is, if the Most High has you in a situation where you don't have you're not in a relationship, then obviously the Most High wants you to put your focus where?
On him.
On Him without what?
Distraction.
Without distraction.
Somebody give me the definition of distraction. 1828.
Distraction. The act of distracting, a drawing apart, separation.
So he said, if I'm in a situation where I don't have a woman, I'm not married. If I'm going to be content with my situation, and I'm not trying to force the course of the river, then that's the Most High putting me in a position where He wants my mind without what? Without separation. Or what?
Distraction.
Distraction. Definition, continue.
The second part of that. It says confusion from a multiplicity.
It says confusion from a multiplicity of what?
Of objects crowding on the mind.
It says confusion from a multiplicity of objects that are crowding the what?
The mind.
Wow.
That are crowding the mind.
Wow.
So when the Most High got men in a position where they're single, that's the Most High telling them, I'm in control, but what I want from you, and while you're single, in the meantime, is I want your mind without separation. And I want your mind without confusion from a multiplicity of objects that will crowd the mind. What else?
And calling the attention different ways.
And calling the attention different ways. Because once you engage, the Most High is not saying that you should never have a woman. But for the time being, for the situation that I'm in at this particular circumstance, the Most High wants my focus. And He doesn't want my focus divided. He doesn't want my attention divided. And He doesn't want other things crowding the mind. That means that the Most High has me in this singular situation, so I can give the Most High all my focus and all my attention without distraction, without separation. What else you got in that distraction?
It says confusion of affairs.
Confusion of what?
Of affairs.
He says confusion of affairs. Because what happens when you get into a relationship?
You get confused.
Crazy.
What
verse
happened?
33.
Huh?
Verse 3. Yeah. How you may please your...
Hold on.
I'm sorry.
Hold on.
Hold up.
Hold up, man.
Hold up.
Hold on, man. Hold on, man. Read verse 28.
Verse 28.
Mm-hmm.
But, and if thou marry, thou hast not sinned.
Yeah, but if you marry, you have not sinned. Read on.
And if a virgin marry, she have not sinned.
So it's not against the law to be married. Read on.
Nevertheless,
It said, nevertheless, you ain't do nothing wrong if you're in a relationship. There's nothing wrong with being in a relationship. But he said, nevertheless, what?
nevertheless, such shall have trouble.
Oh, he's telling you that yes, it's okay to be in a relationship. He said, but you gotta know that if you're in a relationship comes with what?
Trouble.
They come with trouble where?
In the flesh.
In the what?
In the flesh.
In the flesh. Now, he says, so relationships come with what?
Trouble.
With trouble, man. They come with responsibilities. And so it's not against the law to be in a relationship. You just got to know what relationships entail and what they bring about. They bring about trouble in the flesh. But read on.
But I spare you.
But he's saying is, I'm not going to go into detail.
Right.
That's what he's saying. I'm not going to go into detail.
Right.
You'll figure it out for yourself.
You'll learn. You gotta learn.
Yeah, you'll learn the trouble, what it means. You want to be in a relationship real bad? You got it. But you also got something else coming with it. It's not a deal breaker. But what he's saying is, it's a part of it. You have to accept it as a contingency prize. You got the relationship, but you got to deal with the struggles that come with it. That's why it says the distraction. That definition of distraction, the last one you read, Jariah, was what?
Confusion of affairs.
Confusion. Jariah, what you
It says
got?
confusion of affairs.
It says confusion of. Where do the affairs come from? From the relationship. Not saying an affair like somebody's cheating on you, but or
Scenarios.
not just scenarios happen.
It's a distraction.
Just there's always a pull. There's always a pull. There's always something. There's a tug of war at stake in a relationship. And he's going to tell you where that tug of war is. But so let that go in 28. And where were you at in 1 Corinthians chapter 35? Who was reading 1 Corinthians 7:35?
That was me.
You was reading that also? Read verse 35.
Verse 35. And this I speak for your own profit, not that I may cast a snare upon you,
Go ahead.
but for that which is comely,
He said, but that which is comely. Read on.
and that ye may attend upon the Most High without distraction.
Without what?
Without distraction.
So anytime the issues that we run into is that the majority of Israelite relationships have already begun prior to their establishment with the relationship with the Heavenly Father. And so now I'm engaged in this responsibility of having to sustain or maintain my wife and still develop a relationship with the Most High. And this is why we often, as much as possible, tell young men that's coming in, if you don't have a woman, hey, just wait, be patient. Don't try to force the course of the river. Let your understanding and your relationship build with the Most High without distraction, because that's a pull. That's a pull, and there's nothing wrong with it. But you just got to know that there's always going to be this constant pull and tug of war, and something that's going to be challenging your attention from the Most High. And that's what relationships do. They challenge the Most High for attention. So you still have to, if you're in a relationship, you still have to find that balance to where, if you've already started one, well, you still got to be responsible for your duties as a husband, and you still got to be responsible for your pursuit and gaining a relationship with the Most High. But Paul is saying, if you can, to avoid the biggest issues, focus on the Most High first. Then, as you develop this relationship and you become sound in your judgment, and you become sound in the spirit of counsel, sound in the spirit of teaching and educating someone, and providing information and knowledge to build her up. Now you can engage in a relationship because you've adopted the ability to, because you've received counsel, you've received knowledge. Now I can teach it, and I can motivate and incite and help mold this other spirit, because I've steered my spirit in the right direction. So a lot of times the Most High wants us to have that undivided attention with Him first, and then engage into a relationship. The problem is, a lot of us will get into a relationship, and then we don't like the strain that it possesses, and the pulls, and the amount of attention that it takes from us, and then we want out. And that's why Paul said this. Go back up. Now, how you reading, right? Read verse 27.
Verse 27. Art thou bound unto a wife?
That's why it says, oh, okay, where are you bound? Are you already in a relationship? Read on.
Seek not to be loosed.
Now, who wants to be loose from the relationship?
Distraction.
Distraction. What else? They got confusion in their relationship.
There's
Feels
confusion
taxing.
of affairs.
It's too much. The affairs. There's too much of a struggle.
It's taxing.
It's taxing. It's exhausting. It's demanding. There's a lot of demands.
Yes.
So because I got these demands now in the relationship, and that means that my time now has to be split in another way. I still got to give my mind to the Most High. I still got to give my mind to the brothers. I still got to give my mind to the work. Then I still got to give my mind to the woman. Then I still got to give my mind to the kids. Then I still got to give my mind to whatever I was going to try to do and look at and be about. So now all that has to be restructured and reshuffled and put on the back burner. And because that's too taxing, some of us get into that relationship and we say, you know what, I want to be out of it. I want out. But that's not just either. Read on. That's why it says, seek not to be loosed. Because the Most High is not pleased with that either. What you have to do now is find a way to be able now to be obligated to all these responsibilities. The Most High the Most High is not okay with you embarking and engaging into a relationship, not liking what you see, and now you want to bounce. And now you want out. Well, if that was the case, you should have never got one. You should have stuck to just putting your mind and giving your mind to the Most High. That's why I said, does thou have a wife? Verse 27. Art thou bound unto a wife?
Seek not to be loosed.
Read on.
Art thou loosed from a wife? Seek not a wife.
So what is he showing right here?
Be content.
Be content. And a lot of us, we are in that situation where we're not content. And that lack of contentment goes either way. That lack of contentment is either I'm in a marriage and I'm not content, or I don't have a marriage and I'm still not what?
Content.
And I'm still not content. And that's some of the trouble that you're gonna find everybody in. They don't like their situation whether they're single or married. Mm-hmm. The married ones think that the single ones got it better, and the single ones think the married ones got it better. And they both don't like their situation. And so what happens is this because we don't like it, I'm distraught either way. Now I'm mad at the Most High. Now I decline. Now my effort diminishes because I feel like I'm stuck. Now I'm stuck. So I'm looking for anything to try to get out. I'm looking for any matter of uncleanness, any excuse, any reason to part or to pull away from my newfound duties as a husband. Because now I feel like I'm stuck and I gotta be here. So I'm looking for everything that's wrong. You ain't talking right.
Sabotage.
See, you don't want the Bible. I try to give you the Bible. You don't want the scriptures. You don't want the Lord. Now I'm trying to find any reason to say why I shouldn't have to be responsible. Because I'm not content in my situation. But you know what? That's why Paul is showing that these relationships come with responsibilities. So if you're in a situation, listen, the grass isn't always greener. It isn't always greener. The married ones think the single ones, man, I remember when I was single, I didn't have to answer to nobody. I can come and go as I please. I didn't have to worry about splitting half my checkup or giving my whole checkup. I didn't have to worry about, cooking for anybody. I just worried about me. It was easier that way. I was living a lot happier in my life when it was just me. Now I'm miserable. And this is the mindset that our people fall into, and then who suffers? Their relationship with the Father suffers. And that's why he's talking about, listen, you have to find the balance in whether you're single or married to still make the Most High priority. That's the struggle. So we're supposed to be serving the Most High without distraction, right? Now hold this. That's not just in a marriage. That's also with your children. Go to Ecclesiastes chapter 30. Read verse 7 real quick. Just to show that balance must be found in a marriage and if you have children. The Most High still has to be number one. Whoever got it. Ecclesiastes chapter 30 verse 1.
30 verse 1.
Ecclesiasticus.
Ecclesiasticus.
Ecclesiastes chapter 30, verse 7.
Verse 1.
Verse 1. Ecclesiastes chapter 30, verse 1.
Read that.
He that loveth his son.
They say he that loveth his son. If you got a son that you love, what do you do with him? Read.
Calleth him off to feel the rod.
What does that mean? You whoop your children. You spank your children. You correct your children. Read on.
That he may have joy of him.
Do you do it because you hate him?
La'ah,
Why do you spank him?
that he may have joy of him in the end.
Because what does those spankings do?
It improves the relationship.
Correct.
Well, how? What does that correction do? How does that correction help?
Causes them to look at how they're off.
Directs
Right.
them in the path that you want them to go.
Right. It yields something. It puts boundaries, limitations on them.
There's an understanding of consequences for action.
There's a consequence to everything that I do. Read verse 7.
Ecclesiastes 30 and verse 7. He that maketh too much of his son.
But if I don't want to whoop my son, because I think my son's special, I think he's too good for that. Or I don't want him to hate me. I don't want him to hate me later, so I ain't gonna whoop him. I'm not gonna chastise him, correct him. Read on.
Shall bind up his wound.
And I shall do what?
Bind up his wound.
I'll make excuses for him.
Mm.
I'll make excuses for his mistakes.
Wow.
Well, you was a kid once. You know what it was like to be a kid. You was a kid, so why are you messing? Why are you acting like you don't know what it means, like what it feels like to be a kid? You was a kid too. You made mistakes. You used to run the streets. You used to come home late. You used to break into houses. You used to break into cars. I make excuses for him. I make excuses for his errors. What happens?
And his bowels will be troubled at every cry.
It says now it's going to vex me in the long run if I don't put the correction on.
So I'm gonna be like an enabler.
I'm gonna be an enabler, and then by enabling him, then he will not be disciplined. He will not be chastised. He will not be corrected. There's no good that's going to come out of him, because I made excuses for his errors. I made excuses for his mistakes. Read verse 13. We're not going to read the whole chapter. I just want to bring a point out of this. Read verse 13.
Ecclesiastes 30 and 13. Chastise thy son.
So if you got a son, then do what?
Chastise thy son.
Go ahead.
And hold him to labor.
And hold him to what?
Labor.
And put him to work. Read on.
Lest his lewd behavior.
Lest his lewd behavior. Read on.
Be an offense unto thee.
Be an offense unto thee. So what is he showing when you have children? This in them 3 verses, what is he showing us?
You gotta discipline your children. You gotta give them the rod so that you can get their attention, and then you can correct them or redirect them to guide them, to give them counsel of what the right thing to do is, how your son or daughter is honoring you and dishonoring you, and that also so that they're not distracted with whatever they're distracted with. Put them to work. Like this is like a punishment or just
Obligations,
and responsibility,
duties,
like everything's not
chores,
all fun and game.
right? So, but he's showing us that even with children, there's a balance of love based upon what? Correction, discipline, labor, chastisement, not making excuses for them. So I can't be too wrapped up into my children and the fact that I feel like they could get away with everything. So my children can't be that much of a distraction to the point where they're going to steal away my loyalty to the Most High. I got to put them in check, correct them, teach them, groom them, and still go back to serving the Most High.
God.
Same thing with a woman. If I have a woman, it's the same thing. I got to correct, chastise. I ain't going to hit them with the rod. You know what I'm saying? But not spanking them like a kid. But I still got to correct them with scriptures. But I still got to do that because that's love, and then still turn my focus back to serving the Most High. Either way it goes, there's a balance in this situation where it's a combination of correction, discipline, love, but not too much, not wrapped up into you. You're not my everything. I'm gonna whoop your butt. You do wrong. I worship the Most High. I love you as my child, but I serve the Most High. But I'm not gonna make too much of you like you don't deserve anything. Like you don't deserve to get spanked. You're too good for that. But so a lot of this is finding a balance. Whether you got a wife or whether you have children, you gotta find a balance where they don't steal away your focus, your intensity, your drive, your fear of the Most High. They're not taking from that.
They don't become objects of crowding the mind.
Objects are crowding, because that's what a distraction is.
Calling them attention different ways.
You know what happened when, even if you, back in the day, if your mother had to get called into your school
She was like that.
and she had to miss work,
No, that's what I call it.
just in that time, even in that era, just for her to get a phone call on her job, and she had to go pick you up from school because they said you got to come get this kid. We're not even going to let him finish the day.
Oh my God.
See, not only are you playing with her time, but you're playing with her what?
Money.
You're playing with her money. And if you're playing with her money, you're playing with what? You're playing with her stability. You're playing with the bills. You're playing with bills. You got whooped, not even just because of what you did. You got whooped because you had to get called from work. And you still get whooped for what you did. Now, how much more is that supposed to be when you serve the Most High? How much focus then, if our parents had that much allegiance to a job, how much allegiance should you have to the Father? So even in my marriage, I shouldn't be so distracted in my marriage to where now I give the Most High less.
Yeah.
But because my home life is in aloof, and my home life is out of order, and I got affairs that I got to deal with, and I got trouble in the flesh. Now that trouble in the flesh in my relationship, now I have to pull away from my servitude to the Most High and deal with my kids, and deal with my wife, and deal with my family situation. Now my kids and my wife have become a what? They become a distraction. And that's not what the Most High gave you a wife for either. Is that distraction? So the idea from now, go back to where we was at in 1 Corinthians, and I want you to read. Matter of fact, I want you to go to.
We were at 28.
We was at 28, right?
Yeah.
Read 29.
1 Corinthians chapter 7, verse 29. But this I say, brethren, the time is short.
Go ahead.
It remaineth that both they that have wives be as though they had none.
So if I'm in a situation where I don't have a wife, I'm supposed to operate as if what?
As though they had none.
That I don't have one. If I'm in a situation where I have a wife, I'm not supposed to be so wrapped up in my marriage to where now I can't do the work of the Most High.
Yeah.
I'm so wrapped up in my situation and my affairs that I can't get class, that I can't go to work, that I can't study. I'm so wrapped up in my relationship that I can't even serve the Father. Because I'm too busy caught up in the affairs. And we know 2 Timothy 2:4 says what? We read this last week.
2 Timothy chapter 2, verse 4. No man that warreth entangleth himself with the affairs of this life.
So I'm supposed to keep everything in perspective. If I'm married, then I have to learn how to keep my marriage life under control. I have to learn how to keep my children under subjection with all gravity. I'm supposed to not allow anything to deter, distract, pull away, and separate my mind and my servitude to the Most High. Read on.
That he may please him who hath chosen him to be a soldier.
Now go back to 1 Corinthians 7 and verse 30.
1 Corinthians 7 and verse 30. And they that weep, as though they wept not. And they that rejoice, as though they rejoiced not. And they that buy, as though they possessed not.
What does that mean?
My possessions are not pulling my concentration.
Absolutely. That means that there's no struggle for attention from the Father. My possessions shouldn't be a distraction.
Past mistakes.
My mistakes that I made, my sorrows, my depression shouldn't be a distraction.
That's right.
So I'm not letting anything distract me from my focus in serving the Most High. It's okay to be married, but it's not okay when I can't serve the Lord and I'm married. That's when it's not okay. That's a problem. It's okay to have children, but it's not okay when I can't serve the Lord because of my children. It's okay to have all these things. That's why I said it's okay to have a house. But now your house is now so out of control that you can't serve the Lord because your house is a distraction.
It's a black hole for attention.
Yep. All these things are okay to have, but not when it becomes a struggle for power. So what happened? How did I get to the point now? How do we get to the point now where the things that we embark or engage in now has put us between a tug of war between our servitude and our allegiance to the Father? What has happened? Go to Proverbs chapter 31 and verse 3. And somebody else real quick get Ecclesiastes chapter 9 verse 2.
31 and what?
31 and verse 3. And then somebody else go to Ecclesiastes first before we read that. Chapter 9 verse 2. Hold that in Proverbs.
Ecclesiastes chapter 9 and verse 2.
How is it now I'm in a situation where my relationships, my family, my children has now become a distraction from me serving the Most High? What has happened? Read that.
Ecclesiastes chapter 9 and verse 2. Give not thy soul unto a woman.
Because what happens to where I can't serve the Most High because of my relationship?
Read.
Give not thy soul unto a woman.
What have I done? What have I done? What error have I made to where now my marriage, because of my marriage, I can't serve the Lord?
You made yourself not as effective.
But how?
What does the scripture say? What does the Bible say?
You gave your soul to her.
I've given. What does that mean?
All your attention.
All my attention.
Damn near worship.
I damn near worship her. And it's not so much worship, but it's to be put in subjection under. I put myself under subjection to her authority, to where now I can't serve the Most High. Because in Romans 6 and 16 it says what?
Romans chapter 6, verse 16. Know ye not that to whom ye yield yourselves servants to obey?
It says, don't you understand to whom ye yield yourself servants to obey? Go ahead.
His servant ye are to whom ye obey.
Read.
So we're a servant
Yep.
to whom we obey. Obey means I yield myself to something. So obedience means I'm yielding myself to the need or desire of. So I'm a servant to the need that I put around me. So I'm a servant to the Most High's needs, or I'm a servant to my posterity's needs. Because I'm over submissive in my thinking pattern. My mind is becoming almost obsessed with the different ebbs and flows of my posterity, of my house, or my car. Some brothers it's their car.
You know, everything is measured based upon what she allows.
God.
So read that one more time, and then you go back and read that in Ecclesiastes, and you read 1 Corinthians chapter 7, and I want you to read verse 33. Read that one more time.
Come. Romans chapter 6, verse 16.
Come.
Know ye not to whom ye yield yourself servants to obey?
Don't you know that if you yield, that you give yourself, put yourself in submission to? That's what yield means, to be in submission to. Go ahead.
His servants ye are to whom ye obey.
Read on.
Whether of sin,
whether it's of sin, go
unto
ahead.
death,
unto death. Read on.
or of obedience unto righteousness.
So you make yourself a slave based upon who you allow control over you. You make yourself a slave to that individual. You're now a captive. And that's why it says, give not what?
Give not thy soul unto a woman to set her foot upon thy substance.
Now, when somebody puts their foot on your substance, that's a sign of what?
Possession.
Control. I control this. If I got my foot on something, that means I'll let go of it when I decide to let go of it. I'll give it to you based on how I feel. I'm the one that is the distributor. So I'm the one that controls how it goes out. Based on how I see fit. The house is controlled by that woman's decision. Happy wife, happy life, right? That's what they say, right?
You
know how it is, man. You know, mama. You gotta keep mama happy. If mama ain't happy, nobody's happy. You know, happy wife, happy life. You know how it is, bro.
No.
Don't forget the elbow bump.
Yeah, you know how it is.
Yeah, it is.
You know how they act. You know, she be tripping.
Yeah, gotta ask why.
She gonna be tripping. I see y'all next week.
Oh,
we had plans.
Come.
Wow.
I can't go to class, brother. You know how it is. She got a list, honeydew list. Everybody got that honeydew list.
She got a distraction list, huh?
Yeah. Now I can't serve the Most High.
Come.
Now how do you think the Most High feels if we allow these things that the Most High gave us to now be a tug of war between our relationship with Him?
He's jealous.
He's jealous, man. Most High gets jealous. Feels neglected. And that's the Most High says this. You can read that too. Matter of fact, you can read that. You can read that's good.
Haggai 1:4.
Because I want to get this right quick after you get this.
Haggai 1:4.
Haggai chapter 1 verse 4.
Are we still holding Proverbs?
Yeah, we still holding Proverbs.
Make it go to verse 2.
Haggai chapter 1 verse 2.
Uh-huh.
Thus speaketh the Lord of hosts,
This is what the Most High is saying. Power, power, King of Kings. Read.
saying, This people say, the time is not come, the time that the Lord's house should be built.
So when a person says the Most High's house should not be built, established, or attended to, or maintenanced, that's a person giving an excuse. Right? That's a person giving an excuse to the Father. Now, people have different ways of making excuses. They create situations that become excuses. That's one means, cat and mouse. And they actually just give verbal excuses. And then they just always have scenarios that are beyond their control. That's an excuse and stops them from attending to the Lord's house. Let's keep reading.
Verse 3.
Uh-huh.
Then came the word of the Most High by Haggai the prophet, saying,
This is the old game men play. Because it's in the time of Haggai. So men been doing this.
Yep.
Read.
Is it time for you,
This is what the Most High said. Is it time for you? Read.
O ye, to dwell in your sealed houses?
So when a man says, "Is it time to build the Most High's house?" Is it?
Put the Most High first.
Should I put the Most High first? Is it always about the camp? Is it always about the need? Do I have to have all my focus here and at the altar of the Lord and the needs of the body? That's a man saying, without saying, "Hey, it's about my house over the Father. It's about my affairs over Christ." That's what the man's really saying, without saying it. Read.
To dwell in your sealed houses?
To dwell where?
To dwell in your sealed houses?
I want to dwell in my sealed house. And your sealed house is multiple meanings. Sealed house is your physical house, and sealed house is in your head. I want to be in my head. I don't want to deal with my people. I want to deal with the Lord's people. I want to be in my mind. I want to be in my own world. I want to deal with my own affairs.
You know what the Most High calls that? Give me Ecclesiasticus and the Apocrypha. No, Wisdom of Solomon. Give me Wisdom of Solomon. I like what you're saying. Give me Wisdom of Solomon. I think it's chapter 9. He talks about the mind muses.
Come upon.
Yep. Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 9,
Verse 15.
verse 14.
14.
Yep.
Good. Go ahead.
I like what you're saying right here. Hold that where we at though.
Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 9 and verse 14. For the thoughts of mortal men are miserable.
It says, for the thoughts of mortal men are what?
Are miserable.
Go ahead.
Our devices are but uncertain.
Go ahead.
For the corruptible body presseth down the soul.
It says the corruptible body does what?
Presseth down the soul.
Read on.
And the earthly tabernacle.
And the earthly tabernacle, which is a man's desires, do what?
Weigheth down the mind.
It weighs down the what?
The mind.
And what does the mind do?
That museth upon many things.
What does that word muse mean?
Like a fusion.
Not necessarily.
Think it upon me.
What you meditate on.
To muse.
You want the definition?
Yeah, I want the definition of it.
It says to become absorbed in thought.
It says to become what?
Absorbed in thought.
I'm absorbed in my thoughts. Read on.
It that scripture?
Yeah, no, in the definition.
A state of deep thought or dreamy abstraction.
It says a state of deep thought or what?
Dreamy abstraction.
Dreamy abstractions, meaning my daydreams and my desires, my fantasy abstracts me from where? Go ahead. Which abstracts, right?
Come. Yeah, that's all I got.
I got you right here.
What? But it's not just abstracts. It's some more to it. Read that.
It says, Muse in the 1828, second one. Deep thought, close attention, or contemplation, which abstracts the mind.
Which abstracts the what?
The mind.
So this is whatever it is that you think about, that's on your mind, that pulls you away. He says the mind museth upon what? Many things, right? Which abstracts what?
Abstracts the mind from passing scenes, hence sometimes absence of mind.
It makes you absent-minded, or it doesn't even allow you. Your people are so caught up in their own thoughts that he says that they're not able to recognize passing scenes. What does that mean?
You're not being observant of what's going on around you.
Life is passing. You're so much in your head. Life is passing right in front of you. You're not able to observe or recognize what's going on right in front of you because you're too caught up where?
In your own mind.
In your own mind. Based upon what? Your own desires. He says this is where a lot of people live. A lot of people live in the mind so much that they're absent-minded. And this is why the Most High said this in Jeremiah chapter 4 verse 22. Read this right quick. I'm so much in my head that I can't function in regular life. Things pass right before me because I'm always in my head based upon what I want and how I see things should be. Read this in Jeremiah 4 and 22.
Jeremiah 4 and 22.
Read that.
For my people is foolish.
He said, my people are what?
Foolish.
What makes the Most High people foolish? Read.
They have not known me.
They don't recognize the Most High. How? Read on.
They are sottish children.
Spell sottish and somebody get the definition.
S-O-T-T-I-S-H.
Sottish. Dull, stupid, senseless, very foolish. Says dull with intemperance.
Now, when you understand what he's saying right here, he said the children of this is why in Ezra he was praying for them. He was praying for Israel.
Yeah.
He said, my heart and my affection and my sorrow is to Israel. He said because the children of Israel are what? He says they're sottish children. They're dull. He said they're stupid. They're what?
Senseless.
It's not just bashing. This is what the Bible says. Our people are dull, stupid, and senseless, and they're what?
Says dotish.
Dotish. No, he says they're dull with intemperance. What is intemperance?
A want of moderation or due restraint.
It's a lack of moderation or due restraint. What else?
Excess.
It's a what?
Excess.
It's an excess of what?
In any kind of action or indulgence.
It's an excess in any kind of action or indulgence. So our people are, that's another word of saying our people are what?
Insatiable.
Extreme, insatiable. So when we're in a marriage, we're in a relationship, it's bigger than a marriage. I just can't be in a relationship and serve the Most High. My relationship has to be so extreme that I can't serve the Most High. I gotta live so much in my head that the way I see things, it pulls me away from serving the Father. And that's why he says they have not known me. Because we're so extreme, when we want what we want, that's all that's in our mind, is what I want. That's all I can see. I can't see nothing else in front of me but what I want. And that thought, that fantasy has control. He said that's what keeps us dull. When you're dull, that means I'm not thinking. It's like asking somebody, man, where's your head at, bro? What was you thinking today? Why were you thinking that? What made you think that idea? What made you think that thought? Because the majority of the children of Israel live in their mind. They live in their thought process. They live in their fantasies. Yes, sir.
Is that what they call, or is that another way of saying introvert?
Introvert, yeah, but to themselves. Another way to say, yeah, I'm in myself. But not so much introvert like I'm to myself around a group of people. More so, I'm here.
I'm cerebral.
I'm cerebral. I live in my mind. I live in my fantasy. Carnal. But this is where I exist. So, but when I exist in my mind, I'm disconnected from where? Reality.
I'm not present.
I'm not present. That's why I said that I'm not aware of passing scenes. That's why some brothers or some people their body is there, but their mind is somewhere else.
You always have a delay.
There's always a delay. There's always a delay. The delay is when you ask somebody a question and they have to step out of their mind to give you an answer. And however long it takes them to come out of their mind to give you an answer, that could be 3 seconds, 5 seconds, 15 seconds. Sometimes you got to ask a person the same thing over and over. Hey, brother, did you get that done today? Yeah, what'd you say, brother? I say, hey, brother, did you get that done today? What are you talking about? You told me that you had to go to court this morning. Did you get that done today? Oh, yeah, the court thing, yeah. People live like this on a daily basis, and they stay disconnected from reality. And they also stay disconnected from the Most High. Because our people are extreme. All we see is what we want. That's all we see. And matter of fact, go to Hosea, just to expound on this, go to Hosea chapter 10. I want you to go to Hosea chapter 10 and read verse 1. Hold that definition though. We got that definition of, he said, my people are sottish. Who was reading that?
Intemperance?
You had that sottish. He said sottish, right?
Dull with intemperance.
I had intemperance.
You had intemperance, but you had sottish, right? You had the scripture to show my children are sottish children. You had Jeremiah 4:22. Read this right here, Hosea chapter 10 verse 1. Read this.
Hosea chapter 10 verse 1. Israel is an empty vine.
He said, the Most High said, Israel is a what?
Wow. An empty vine.
He said, man, Israel's supposed to be yielding fruit. He said, but they can't yield, they can't produce anything.
Wow.
They're hollow. He said, wow. Israel is an empty vine. When you see a vine, grapes grow on vines, berries grow on vines, blueberries grow on vines, raspberries. You expect fruit when you see a vine. He said, my children are an empty vine. Meaning they don't produce anything. They don't yield anything. They're hollow.
Empty, unsubstantial, unsatisfactory, void, containing nothing.
He just said, man, my children, they contain nothing. He said, why don't our people contain anything? Why can't we contain anything? Because he's going to explain. Read.
Israel is an empty vine.
Go ahead.
He bringeth forth fruit unto himself.
Because he only thinks about who?
Himself.
Wow. Why is Israel empty?
We only think about ourselves.
You only think about yourself. All you care about is you.
You're number one.
You're number one. You're self-serving. That's why people live in their mind. And that's why they can't yield anything spiritual. Because they live in their fantasy. Because all they care about is pleasing themselves. The Most High is not at all in their mind. It's not about, the majority of my thought process isn't what can I do for the Father? How can I serve the Most High? The majority of my thought process is on what I want. Either what? Yes, sir.
Is that a sin?
Yes.
To be in your mind like your whole life?
Yes.
Yep. That's a sin, bro.
And I'll show you why. Read it one more time.
God. Hosea chapter 10 verse 1. Israel is an empty vine. He bringeth forth fruit unto himself.
He said he bringeth forth what?
Fruit unto himself.
Go to 1 Corinthians 8 and 3 real quick. Okay. And then you asked a question. I like the question that you just asked.
Is it a sin?
Is it a sin? I like that. I like that what you just asked real quick. Hold that real quick.
You want 1 Corinthians 8 and 3 right now?
Yeah, read 1 Corinthians read that right there.
1 Corinthians 8 verse 3. But if any man love the Most High.
It said, but if any man do what?
love the Most High,
if any man love the Most High, go ahead.
the same is known of him.
So the Most High says he knows. The Most High is always able to recognize who does what.
Loves him.
Now, why did the Most High say Israel's an empty vine?
We're self-consuming.
Self-consuming? What'd you say? Because we love ourselves. Because the Most High knows that. He knows the difference.
It's not the good self-love.
Yeah.
This is the wicked self-love.
This I'm self-absorbed. All I care about, yes sir.
James 4:17.
Hold James 4:17. What does it say first before I say hold it?
It says, therefore to him that knoweth to do good and doeth it not, to him it is sin.
Yes, it is sin. Hold on. It's somewhere I want to go. Hold on. Read what you had before. Read what you had before that. It's somewhere I want to go real quick. Oh, I know where I want to go. Okay. Read what you got in the last verse you just read.
1 Corinthians 8 and verse 3.
Yeah, read that right there.
But if any man love the Most High, the same is known of him.
It says the same as what?
Known of him.
The same is known of him. Finish that. Read on.
As concerning therefore the eating of those things.
Okay, stop right there. He said the same is known of him, right? How does the Most High know that you love him versus you love yourself? Go to Luke. This is where I want to go. Go to Luke chapter 17, and I want you to read verse 32.
Luke chapter 17 and verse 14.
32.
32.
17, 30. I got it. Luke 17.
Let everybody get it. Let everybody get it.
Luke 17 and 32. Luke 17 and 32.
Go ahead.
Remember Lot's wife.
Now, Christ, this is a very short verse, right? What did Christ say?
Remember Lot's wife.
That's a 3-word verse. Now, you just read in 1 Corinthians chapter 8, verse 3, it says what?
Come. 1 Corinthians 8. 8 and verse 3.
Go ahead.
But if any man love the Most High, the same is known of him.
It said, how does the Most High know? He said, remember what?
Lot's wife.
Now, let that go, and now go finish that, what you got, Dawiyah, in Luke. Because you reading in Luke, right?
Luke 32. Verse 33, right?
Mm-hmm.
Whosoever shall seek to save his life.
How do you know how does the Most High know that you love him or you love yourself?
Whosoever shall seek to save his life.
Because you only care about saving who?
His life.
You only care about saving yourself. That's all you care about. Self-preservation. That's all you're focused on. All you're focused on. Hold on one second. Let me get this too. That's how the Most High can tell the difference. Because all you care about is you. That's where your mind museth. Your mind only museth upon what you care about.
Self-obsession.
Yep. Read.
Shall seek to save his life, shall lose it.
And the young man asked the question, is that a sin to only be occupied with myself? He asked that question, right? Now Christ said what? Remember who?
Lot's wife.
Now how do you know that Lot's wife was about saving her? Say it again.
She couldn't see nothing in front of her.
She couldn't see what's in front of her. Because she was living where?
Right.
She was living in the past.
Yeah.
And she didn't want to let go.
Right.
She cared so much about preserving what she had built up in Sodom that she couldn't see the salvation that the Most High had in store for her. So what do you call that? Now go to Wisdom of Solomon chapter 10, and I want you to read verse 6.
Wisdom of Solomon 10 and verse 6. When you're ready.
Let everybody get it. Because Christ said, remember Lot's wife. Because this woman was self-absorbed. He said, whosoever save his life shall lose it. So when this woman tried to preserve herself and herself only and what she built and didn't want to let go so that she could be freed to go serve the Lord in a new place? She didn't want to do that. Read Wisdom of Solomon 10 and 6.
Wisdom of Solomon chapter 10 verse 6.
Read that.
When the ungodly perish.
You're in Wisdom of Solomon chapter 10 verse 6. Go ahead. You're there.
When the ungodly perish.
Okay, go ahead. Who was the ungodly? Read on.
She delivered the righteous man.
Talking about wisdom. Read on. Who was the righteous man that was delivered? Lot. So through wisdom, the Most High had these and the help of these angels, had visited Lot and gave Lot an exit plan.
Wow.
And they gave Lot a way out of his situation.
Hallelujah.
Read.
Who fled from the fire which fell down upon the 5 cities.
Now, we know that Sodom and Gomorrah was just 2 of the 5 cities.
Yep.
They were the 2 largest. But Sodom and Gomorrah consisted of 5 cities near the Dead Sea. Sodom and Gomorrah was just the 2 largest. We just so happen to be in Pride Month too. It's a great topic right now. Right? So he said that fell from the 5 cities. So 5 cities in total was destroyed. Read on.
Verse 7. Of whose wickedness.
Of whose what?
Wickedness.
Read on.
Even to this day, the wasteland that smoketh is a testimony.
He says the wasteland that smoketh is a what?
Testimony.
It's a testimony of what?
And plants bearing fruit that never come to ripeness.
That nothing ever grew, nothing grows out of this place to this day. That's a testimony. Go ahead.
And the standing pillar of salt.
And the what?
A standing pillar of salt.
Who is that standing pillar of salt?
That's right.
That's Lot. What did Christ say?
Remember.
You better remember Lot's wife. Don't forget about that woman. That woman didn't want to leave. That woman didn't want to trust. That woman was self-absorbed, trying to save what she built in Sodom and Gomorrah. He said that standing pillar of salt. Why did the Most High leave Lot's wife as a standing pillar of salt? Read on.
And the standing pillar of salt is a monument.
Is a what?
A monument.
When you go to Washington, D.C., you go visit what?
Monument.
You go watch, who's that in that Lincoln, Abraham Lincoln in that big stone, that big stone statue, and he's in the big chair looking out over everybody?
Memorial.
The Lincoln Memorial?
God.
Or you see the big ziggurat, the big obelisk,
Oh, yeah.
that's right there in D.C. Where Martin Luther King gave his speech at, with a little pool of water, and the D.C. monument. What is that? What is it? Or when you go to New York and you see the Statue of Liberty, what is that? That's a monument. That's supposed to represent what? The peace between France and America, right? Well, why did the Most High leave this pillar of salt?
It says, pillar of salt is a monument.
As a monument for what? A monument is a memorial, something to recognize so that you don't forget it.
Preserve.
Don't you forget this.
It's the Most High said He left it there so you don't forget what? It's a monument of what?
Of an unbelieving soul.
So what do you call somebody that is only wrapped up in saving themselves?
An unbelieving soul.
You call that an unbelieving soul. So would that be a sin? God. Because they don't believe. Because you only believe who?
Yourself.
You only believe yourself. You only trust yourself. And that's why I said remember Lot's wife. Because a lot of us don't trust the Most High and what He's trying to do with us. We only trust what we've built. And we only trust the way we think. And we live up in the mind.
Our devices.
We trust our devices.
But uncertain.
And they're uncertain. So now go back to Hosea. You was holding 1 Corinthians 8 and 3, right? You already finished that, right?
God.
Now go back to Hosea 10 and 1. No, you had Jeremiah 4 and 22, right?
I had that also.
You had that also. Hold that.
You want Hosea right now?
Yeah, go to Hosea 10 and 1.
God,
Read that one more time.
Hosea chapter 10 verse 1. Israel is an empty vine.
He said, now he's telling us why the Most High said Israel's empty.
God.
Read on.
He bringeth forth fruit unto himself.
Because all he care about is who?
Himself.
And Christ just said, he that saveth his life shall what?
Lose it.
Shall lose it. But he that loseth his life for my name's sake shall what?
Find it.
Shall find it and have life everlasting, right? So, he
Can
said...
I say this?
Come.
people hear that principle of saving life and losing life, but they don't understand that that principle is expressed in our actions. Our works present and show if I'm saving my life. Our actions present and show if I'm losing my life. My decisions and my actions show a track record if I'm going the path of Lot's wife or not. My actions will speak.
Yep. And it's not hard. And that's why the Most High said in 1 Corinthians 8:3, he said what? You had it. He said what?
1 Corinthians 8:3. But if any man love the Most High,
he said, that's why the Most High said, if any man loves me, read on.
The same is known of him.
The Most High can recognize it when you love him. How can he recognize that you love him?
Wow.
Because where's your mind at? Your mind is on him. That's why it's easy. It's easily known. What are your actions? Your actions are on pleasing him.
I'm not crowding. I'm not gathering objects that crowd the attention.
Right. There's no
And
struggle.
focus.
There's no struggle for attention.
There's no
with the Most High.
excess. There's no matters of excess.
Right. Then there's no attachments that I have that I possess that's going to keep me from following the Most High.
Wow. True.
Now read that right there in Hosea. Finish that in Hosea.
God. Israel is an empty vine. He bringeth forth fruit unto himself.
Read on.
According to the multitude of his fruit.
It says, now, this is the Most High knows the children of Israel very well. He says, you can bet this, and this is guaranteed.
He said you can bet.
You can bet on this. This is guaranteed. He says, according to the multitude of their what?
Of his fruit.
Read on.
He hath increased the altars.
So he says,
wow.
The more he increases, the worse he gets.
Wow.
The more you possess, the more you obtain, the worse you are as a person.
Wow.
You know what that means? The more that you yield, the more that what you yield and produce becomes a distraction between you and the Most High. It's not like we can have and then still focus on the Lord. That's not us. When we get a wife, we get all wrapped up into a wife. And then we put the Most High on the back burner. When we get children, we get all wrapped up in the children and put the Most High on the back burner. When the Most High give us any damn thing, whatever that it is that he blesses us with, it becomes all about the blessing.
It's paramount.
It's paramount. It's number one. It becomes the priority. And the Most High always goes to the back. The more we acquire, the more we disconnect from the Father.
Can I show that real quick?
God.
I gotta show this in Proverbs. Proverbs 1:32. Proverbs 1:32.
Proverbs chapter 1 verse 32.
Because you were bringing out, he that seeks to save his life shall lose it. Losing your life means to what? To die or to be slain. Let's read. Proverbs 1:32.
Proverbs chapter 1 verse 32. For the turning away of the simple.
The turning away of the simple. Meaning that my attention's here and I'm going to turn it away. Because I have objects that are multiple that compete for my attention. So I'm diverting my attendance from the Father another way. I'm turning away. And a simple man turns away, not a wise man. Read. Shall do what?
Shall slay them.
So the diverting of attention and losing of attention, the losing of focus of the Most High, shall kill a man. Biblically, the scriptures, this is wisdom. But what's the next part? Now we're finding out, because Joshua, you brought it out, it's beautiful. Now I understand what turned the simple man away. I never understood the second part of the scripture. I'm like, oh man, what's this talking about? Huh? But now we know what made the man simple. Let's read the B portion, or the latter part, the second part of the scripture.
And the prosperity of fools.
The prosperity of what?
Of fools.
Of fools. The simple man lost focus on what the priority was.
Yep.
He thought the priority was his prosperity. And by him making the priority his prosperity, he became a what?
Fool.
And read on.
Shall destroy them.
It shall do what?
Shall destroy
the
them.
Prosperity of fools. The Most High will bless a fool just so he can pull his card so he can destroy himself. According to the scripture.
Man, I got.
That's the meaning of that scripture.
I gotta.
That's what it means.
That's wonderful.
Because it also says riches are uncomely for what?
Nigar.
for a niggard. You know what a niggard's about? Him.
Yep.
A niggard is a very selfish person, not just black or color or melanated. No, niggard means a very selfish person. But now we know they're selfish because they live where?
They live in their head. Oh,
that's crazy,
hold
bro.
on.
That's crazy, bro.
Hold on. Read 2 Timothy, 1 Timothy chapter 6 verse 6, based on what Dawiyah is saying.
1 Timothy 6 verse 6.
Second and first.
1 Timothy.
1 Timothy 6 verse 6. But godliness with contentment is great gain.
He said, but godliness with what?
With contentment.
That means that as long as I got a relationship with the Most High, I may not have what I want, but I do have a relationship with the Father. That is a bonus to a man. That man is not empty. So a lot of times we think the more that we acquire, the more the Most High's blessing. That's the deceitful side of things.
Deceitfulness is real.
That I believe that the more that I acquire, the more that's assigned to me. But that's to a fool.
That's right.
The God is with me. The Lord is with me. Because I just got blessed on these tangible things.
Supposing gain was godliness.
Godliness. Right. That's why it says, verse 6 says what?
But godliness with contentment is great gain.
That's what great gain is. Is when you have a relationship with the Most High first, and wherever you are in your situation or your circumstance, like we started the class, whether you're prosperous or you're being afflicted, who's going to win out of that situation? The person that fears the Most High is the winner of that situation. When you're in that contentment situation where you have to be content on where you are, and you can't either be too extreme on either side, the person that fears the Lord is the one that comes out the winner. That's why it says, godliness with what?
Contentment.
Is what?
Is great gain.
Read on.
Come. For we brought nothing into this world, and it is certain we can carry nothing out.
So you brought nothing into this world, and it's guaranteed you was born naked, you're going to die, and you're going to leave with what?
Nothing.
Nothing. Read on.
And having food and raiment.
And he says, you should just learn how to, number one, have a relationship with the Father. And if you got a relationship with the Most High and you're eating and you got clothes, go ahead.
And having food and raiment, let us be therewith content.
And let us be there with content. Meaning I'm not going to be extreme in my passion or my lust.
Wow.
I'm not going to be too occupied in the mind with my fantasy. Read on.
But they that will be rich.
It says, but they that will be what?
Rich.
Or excessive. I have excess. Read on.
Fall into temptation.
Those riches actually can distract you and destroy you, just like who? Christ said, remember who?
Lot's wife.
Just like Lot's wife. What didn't she want to let go of? Her comfort. And the things that she acquired while she was in Sodom and Gomorrah. She didn't want to let it go. And that's why it says, they that be rich. The more things that you have that you're attached to, the more likely you are that you're going to sell out the Most High. And that's the sad part about it is. But that doesn't mean that you live like a monk and don't have nothing. I don't eat anything. I just eat air. And I just eat water. I drink water from donated bowls. You know what I'm saying? It's not saying be that extreme. But what he's saying is, don't have these unnecessary attachments. But this is why Paul is saying it's okay to be married. But just know that if you're married, that's an opportunity to steal your focus. But don't let it steal your focus. Finish that where we're at, and I like the point that you brought out in that scripture you brought out in Proverbs.
Go.
Finish that in Hosea. You was in 10. Hosea chapter 10.
10 and 1.
Hosea chapter 10 verse 1. Israel is an empty vine. He bringeth forth fruit unto himself.
Go ahead.
According to the multitude of his fruit.
And the more that he acquires. Read on.
He hath increased the altars.
He's increased the what?
The altars.
And what do the altars represent?
Which is
what you're willing to offer.
Your desires. What else?
What you hold important?
Yep, what you serve.
What you worship.
What you worship.
What you put on the pedestal is more important.
As important, right. What you worship as important. So the more that you acquire, the harder it is to let it go. And the more of a struggle it is of focus between you and the Father. So can Israel just learn to acquire and obtain things and not make what they obtain the priority? That's what the Most High has a problem with. That we don't know how to acquire that, whether that be homes, houses, vehicles, women, children, family. We don't know how to acquire jobs, careers, whatever. We don't know how to acquire and put it in perspective as this is still not that important as my duty and responsibility to the Heavenly Father. But it's always the more we get, the more of a pull it is where I can't do my job, where I can't be in attendance, where I have to be at home. Well, you know how it is when if she ain't happy, now I can't serve the Lord. I'm a grown man, but I gotta wait on permission to leave the house. I gotta wait on permission to serve the Lord.
Crazy.
That's why I said, man. They said the children of Israel empty, man. Said the more they get, the worse they get. Read on.
It says, according to the multitude of his fruit.
It says, according to the multitude of his fruit. Read on.
He hath increased the altars.
Go ahead.
According to the goodness of his land.
And it says, and if he really gets blessed, if he got a good job and money's coming in and things are flowing, he's getting prosperity. Go ahead.
They have made goodly images.
He said, man.
Wow.
He says the image or the fantasy gets even bigger.
It's more elaborate, right?
It gets more elaborate.
Wow.
The distraction gets more elaborate. The distraction, the more that I increase, the more that I pit whatever it is that I gain against the Father.
And also, image means an idea. I got more opinions.
You know why? Because
stronger opinions.
You know, because you broke, you're relegated to what you can afford.
Can't say nothing, bro.
You got to deal with what you got.
Yeah.
But when you got more, you got choices.
Yeah.
You got more choices. I can go places now. I can do some things.
I have options.
I got options, man. You didn't have no options when you was in a certain position. With that money or that blessing comes options. But those options are just distractions.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah.
And that's all they are.
Image. To copy by the imagination.
Yep.
That this person becomes, you can't tell them nothing because they have strong imaginations that they want to bring into fruition.
That's why it says, and they that be rich shall fall into many temptations. Shall fall into temptation. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Oh, I was gonna say, if that blessing doesn't last, would you say that it was likely because it came through the world of the evil one, as opposed to if the blessing came through the Most High, it's gonna last and it's going to endure?
Yes, it will. Yes, it will last. If it's from the Most High, it will last. And matter of fact, if it's from the Most High, this is the state of mind that you should be in. Go to Acts chapter 5 real quick. Start at verse 1 real fast. Somebody read that real quick.
Acts chapter what?
Chapter 5 verse 1. Mm-hmm.
God. Acts chapter 5 and verse 1 reads. Ready?
Yep.
But a certain man named Ananias with Sapphira, his wife,
read on,
sold a possession and kept back part of the price. His wife also being privy to it, and brought a certain part and laid it at the apostles' feet.
So now these are two church members, husband and a wife, who had made a good deal, but by selling their land. They were well off. They made a good deal. Some negotiations went through. They made a profit. And here it is. The church is coming together. Matter of fact, I want you to read the end of 4 to show what was going on during that time frame and what the spirit was that everybody was involved in at that time. Go to Acts chapter 4, and I want you to read. I want you to read verse 32.
Come. Acts chapter 4 verse 32 reads, and the multitude of them that believed.
Now you in this congregation where Peter was at, He said the multitude of them did what?
That believed.
Read on.
Were of one heart.
They had what?
One heart.
There was a consensual spirit of giving within the church. Everybody had the same mind. We're all going to give a piece of what we possess. We're going to throw in what we possess to the body of Christ. We're going to give. That was the one heart, the consensus, right? Read on.
Were of one heart and of one soul.
And they had one soul, one heart and one soul. So you know what Christ said, with 2 or 3 or more gathered in my name, there I'm in the what?
Midst
thereof. There am I in the midst thereof. I'm in the midst of them. So you know Christ was blessing it, the Most High was blessing it, because they had one mind. They had one soul. Read on.
Neither said any of them.
Now what was the spirit that was in the church? It says neither said any of them what?
That aught of the things which he possessed was his own.
Neither did any of them say that what I have and what I've acquired, what I've worked so hard to get, this is mine. This belongs to me. This is my portion. You better get your own portion. Let the Lord bless you like He blessed me. So the spirit, the consensus that was in the church was what? What was it about? What was the spirit in the body? Selflessness. That what I have, you enjoy. What I possess, you partake. You receive. That was the spirit, right? Read on.
Come. But they had all things common.
That means that nobody had more than the other. Everybody had an equal share of the blessing that came into the church. Read.
Verse 33. And with great power gave the apostles.
Because when that spirit is there, because the scriptures say charity edifieth. When that spirit of charity is there, that's what builds people up. Now the Most High can intercede. They said where the unity is of the brethren, the Most High commanded the what? The blessing, right? The Most High commands the blessing. Psalms 133. Where the unity is, the blessing is commanded. The Most High ordains that a blessing be present and given when men and brethren are unified. Right? Read on.
Come. And with great power gave the apostles witness of the resurrection of the Lord Yahushua.
Read on.
And great grace was upon them all.
Read on.
Neither was there any among them that lacked.
It says, and because that spirit of charity was there, nobody lacked. Read on.
For as many as were possessors of land.
For as many as were what?
Possessors.
Whoever possessed what?
Of lands.
Did what?
Or houses.
Or houses. Read on.
Sold them.
They did what?
Sold them.
Man, were they attached to it?
Sold them.
Did they hold on to it?
Sold them.
Was it a distraction?
Sold them.
Did they pit their possession against the Father?
Sold them.
Were they connected to it where they couldn't let it go?
Sold them.
Were they an unbelieving soul like Lot's wife?
Sold them.
They did what?
Sold them.
They let it go. Read on.
And brought the prices of the things that were sold.
Go ahead.
And laid them down at the apostles' feet.
And they did what?
Laid them down at the apostles' feet.
Read on.
And distribution.
And what?
And distribution.
Go ahead.
Was made unto every man according as he had need.
And the apostles divided all the possessions up so that everybody in the church could function. So nobody was living higher than anybody else. That was the spirit, right? Read on.
Come, verse 36. And Joseph, who was by the apostles, was surnamed Barnabas, which is being interrupted, the son of
interpreted.
Salakia. And being interpreted, the son of consolation, a Levite, and of the country of Cyprus, having land, sold it.
Even Barnabas, who was mighty in works, he was on the initial journey that Paul went on when he was establishing the churches. Read.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
You said he was a Levite that had land?
Yes.
Why did he have land?
He said he lived in Cyprus. He wasn't living in Jerusalem. Oh. Read on.
Having land, sold it, and brought the money and laid it at the apostles' feet.
Now you know where Cyprus is, right? It's in the Mediterranean Sea. It's an island right in the Mediterranean Sea. So he was obviously a Jew living in a Gentile state.
Is that like modern day Italy?
It's at the bottom. It's on the right of Italy.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Come. Chapter 5. But a certain man named Ananias with Sapphira, his wife, sold a possession and kept back part of the price.
Now, I didn't say that Peter was a real estate agent. But he knew the value of land. And he must have known the price of them damn houses and what they was going for. You know, he might have did a market analysis. It was like, wait a minute, bro. These houses are going for way more than what you bringing in. Read on.
And kept back part of the price, his wife also being privy to it.
So they both were in on the fact that they want to keep a cut for themselves. That I gotta go for self-preservation. We gotta leave a little portion so that just in case this doesn't go right, you know, and this church thing doesn't work, we can always go back and have something to land on as a little nest egg so that we can be comfortable just in case this church thing doesn't work. So these are people that didn't want to go all in, but had that self-serving mentality. Had that mentality of, I got to preserve myself. I got to make sure that I function. Not I give it to the body so that the body can function. I got to make sure I take care of myself. Read on.
Come. And his wife also being privy to it, and brought a certain part and laid it at the apostles' feet.
So they produced the action, but they didn't have the heart. They produced the action, but they didn't have the mind frame of the soul that everybody possessed. The one soul, the one mind that everybody possessed. They didn't have that. Read on.
Verse 3. But Peter said, Ananias, why have Satan filled thine heart?
Why is who?
Have Satan filled thine heart.
He said, why you let Satan fill your heart? What is wrong with the children of Israel? Somebody get Ezekiel chapter 16 verse 30. What's wrong with the children of Israel?
$16 and
16 and 30.
Ezekiel chapter 16 verse 30.
Read that. Whoever got it.
How weak
you got it, you got it. What does the Most High say?
How weak is thine heart?
What does the Most High say?
How weak is thine heart?
What's wrong with the children of Israel?
How weak is thine heart?
What's wrong with our heart?
We are weak.
It's weak, bro. That's wrong. That's what's wrong with the children of Israel. We got weak minds. We don't have a lot of faith. And because we don't have a lot of faith, we go into self-preservation mode. We don't believe fully into what the Most High, what everybody is buying into. This is why some people don't buy all the way into what the body is doing. Because we got weak minds. We got weak hearts. Yes, sis.
Is that why we make like provision for the flesh? Like we make sure we have.
Of course.
Something squared up for ourselves.
Yeah, I make sure I'm taken care of. Because my faith is really not as strong. My faith is not as strong as it should be. That's what's wrong with the children of Israel. Yes, sir.
So was that why the blessing didn't last? Was because their faith wasn't strong?
No, that's why the blessing was exposed, and we'll get to that point.
All right.
We'll get to that point. But what's wrong with the children of Israel? Read that verse again.
How weak is thine heart?
Now, if Ananias and Sapphira was fully invested like everybody else in the church, would Peter have to single them out?
Nope.
And ask the question, why is Satan filled thine heart? If they were fully invested. But somewhere in Ananias and Sapphira's mind, what were they lacking?
Faith.
Say it again?
Faith.
Faith.
That monument of an unbelieving soul.
He said, how weak is thine heart? Read on.
Saith the Lord, seeing thou doest all things.
No.
Seeing thou doest all these things, the work of an empress.
No.
Imperious.
He says the work of an imperious what?
An imperious whorish woman.
He says, man, we'll sell our soul for what?
Imperious woman.
No. For stability. He said we're like an imperious whorish woman. We'll sell our soul for stability. We'll sell our soul. We don't care what our soul costs. We'll sell it for cheap. That's why I said an imperious, whorish woman with a weak heart, because our faith is low. That's why we sell out the Most High for nothing, because our faith is low. You got that definition?
Imperious, commanding, dictatorial, to be a dictator, haughty, arrogant, overbearing, domineering. It says powerful, overbearing, as opposed by opposite. Next one, urgent, pressing, as imperious love, authoritative.
Authoritative. He said, but he's saying that you want to be a whore, is what he's saying, because you don't have no faith. It all begins because you got a weak heart. We'll sell out righteousness because our faith is low. Look at the spirit that was in that church and what everybody was doing in that church. How come everybody didn't have the same heart? Because they'll rather do something else other than serve the Most High. That's why it says you're an imperious whore. Yeah, you rather sell out what the body is doing for the sake of preserving yourself. Let that go in Ezekiel and go back to where we was at in Acts.
Come. Acts chapter 3, Acts chapter 5 and verse 3 reads, but Peter said, Ananias, why have Satan filled thine heart to lie to the Holy Spirit?
Why you let Satan in? But we know the answer, because Ananias and Sapphira got weak what?
Hearts.
They got weak hearts. They got weak faith. That's why they went in self-preservation mode. Read on.
And to keep back part of the price of the land, whilst it remained, was it not thine own?
He says you had control over it. It wasn't like you were forced into making that decision to accept a lower amount. True. You chose to only turn in a low amount. Read on. He said you had control over it. You made the decision. Read on.
And after it was so, was it not in thine own power?
Go ahead.
Why hast thou conceived this thing in thine heart?
It says, so why do our people conceive certain things in their heart? It's all based on what?
Self-preservation.
Self-preservation and weak faith. That's why we come up with these imaginations that we come up with. That's why we sell the Most High for nothing. That's why all these things that we obtain, they become pulls. They become distractions. The more you accumulate, the harder it is to let it go. We have to learn how to just have a relationship with the Father, gaining a relationship with Him, and being content whether I have a house or don't have a house. Be content if I have a woman or don't have a woman. Be content if I got money or I don't got money. Be content if I'm successful in the world standard or I'm not successful in the world standard. Doesn't matter. That as long as I got a relationship with the Father, that's all that matters to me. Now, if you're married, cool, be married. Just don't let your marriage be a distraction. If you got possessions, fine. Just don't be too attached to them, to where now you putting the Most High on the back burner. Or like Hosea said, you're an empty vine. Be content on wherever you are, but still make serving the Most High the number one focus. That's why the Most High said in Jeremiah 4:22, read that. Finish that actually. Jeremiah 4:22 said what?
Jeremiah 4:22.
Read that.
For my people is foolish. They have not known me. They are sottish children.
Sottish meaning what? We got the
Dull
definition.
with intemperance.
Dull with intemperance. And that definition of intemperance was what?
Excess.
To be senseless.
I'm absent-minded when it comes to the Father, but what's on my mind? But what my mind is on is excess. What my mind is on is obtaining, is gaining. Read on.
And they have no understanding.
He said they don't have no what?
Understanding.
Read on.
They are wise to do evil.
They're wise to do what?
Evil.
Just like Ananias and Sapphira. Read on.
But to do good, they have no knowledge.
It says to do good, they don't have no knowledge. That's where our people are. And we compromise our relationship for nothing. Finish that in 1 Corinthians chapter 7, Nagaha, where you was at. We're gonna go ahead and cut it because we gotta handle some business.
Matters.
7 verse what?
I want you to pick up in 1 Corinthians chapter 7, and I want you to read verse 30. Read verse 31 now.
We done with Acts chapter 5?
Yeah, we're done with Acts.
1 Corinthians chapter 7, verse 31. And they that use this word.
Hold on.
I'm sorry.
I got it. My Waller. Finish that in Acts chapter 6.
Okay.
I want you to finish that in Acts chapter 6 because I want somebody else. I want somebody else to.
Acts chapter 6, right?
You mean Acts chapter 5?
No, we was in
Okay,
chapter 6. You was already in chapter 6.
Gotcha.
Yeah, finish where you was at in Acts chapter 6. And I want somebody to read Ecclesiastes 10 and 9 after that. Read that, my Waller. Finish that.
Acts chapter 6 and verse 1, right?
Yep.
Okay, come. Acts chapter 6 and verse 1. And in those days, when the number of the disciples was multiplied, there arose a murmuring of the Grecians against the Hebrews.
No. You're in Acts chapter 6. Finish where you say Ananias and Sapphira sold
That's
Christ.
chapter 5.
I mean chapter 5. My apologies.
You good.
Because I went to 4. My bad. I went to 4. So that's right. I jumped to 4. Go ahead and read on.
Acts chapter 5, verse 4. Whilst it remained, was it not thine own?
Go ahead.
And after it was sold, was it not in thy own power? Why hast thou conceived this thing in thine heart? Thou hast not lied unto men, but
that point.
God, thou hast not lied unto men.
Why hast thou conceived this in thy heart? What?
Why hast thou conceived this thing in thine heart? Thou hast not lied unto men, but unto the Most High. And Ananias, hearing these words, fell down and gave up the ghost.
He did what?
Gave up the ghost.
What does that mean? Died. Go to Ecclesiastes chapter 10, verse 9.
Ecclesiastes chapter 10, verse 9. Why is earth and ashes proud?
Why you think you can hide something from the Most High? Read on.
There is not a more wicked thing than a covetous man.
Than a man that's bent on gaining. That's all. That's all. A man that's bent on gaining. There's not such more than a wicked man. That's a wicked heart. Read on.
For such and one setteth his own soul to sell.
What did Ananias and Sapphira do with their soul?
Wow.
Sold it.
They sold it for what? A piece of land. He said one that setteth his soul for what?
To sell.
Go ahead.
Because while he liveth, he casteth away his bowels.
And what's in your bowels?
Your core of your being.
The core of your passion. The seat of your passion.
Okay.
Damn, you let a little piece of property. You sold your soul for a piece of property.
Wow.
So the Most High said, because people do this, now jump to 14. Go to Ecclesiastes chapter 14, verse 4 and 5 real quick.
Ecclesiastes chapter 14, verse 5?
Yeah, 14 verse 4.
14 verse 4.
Read that.
He that getteth...
No.
Slacking. He that gathereth by defrauding his own soul...
So he said he that
gathereth, I'm gathering, I'm the prosperity of fools.
Yep.
But turning away the simple.
Turning away the simple. So I'm gathering, but at the same time that I'm gathering, I'm defrauding what?
Wow.
I'm defrauding my own soul. Read on.
Gathereth for others.
He said gathereth for who?
For others.
So what did Ananias and Sapphira do with that land, with that profit? No, they didn't enjoy it.
Some to the prophet and they kept some.
Yeah, but what happened to it after that?
They
both died. That means they didn't enjoy the sale. They didn't enjoy it. They never reaped the benefits of the sale. That's why he said
they enjoy the defrauding process, like as far as like the finessing that they try to do.
Yeah, they thought they were slick,
right.
But they didn't even do a good job at that. And then the earnings that they made, the profit that they made from the sale of it, they never enjoyed it. So he said, read on. He said they gather it for who?
For others.
Read on.
That shall spend his good righteously.
Riotously.
So he said, man, somebody else gonna reap the benefits of all that labor and all that earnings, because you sold your soul. You compromised righteousness for that. So the Most High doesn't allow anybody to enjoy their acquisitions when they acquired it unjustly.
Riotous, excessive expensive feasting, luxury, to revel, to run to excess.
So if I gain that, and that cost me my relationship with the Father, do you think the Most High is going to let me enjoy it? If I acquire these things at the expense of my relationship with the Most High, should I be able to enjoy it?
No.
No. And the Most High doesn't allow it. He doesn't allow it. Finish that where we was at in 1 Corinthians.
Man.
1 Corinthians chapter 7, verse 31. And they that use this world as not abusing it.
It said you supposed to have, if you in a marriage, cool. But you ain't supposed to be abusing the fact that you're in a marriage. You're not supposed to be caught up with it. It's not supposed to be, you're so attached to it. You're not supposed to be so attached to anything in this world. That's why it says, and they that use this world, yes, you need a house to live in, great. But don't make it the priority. It's good to have a relationship, children. Don't make it the priority. Whatever it is that you're acquiring, it just can't be the priority. You can't be abusing this world. It says that they that use this world as not abusing it, being excessive, indulgent, overindulgent in it. Read on.
For the fashion of this world passeth away.
It said because you're not going to keep nothing in this world anyway. It's all going to be burned. Why get so attached to a house that's going to burn anyway? Cars that's going to burn anyway? Why be so attached to it? You use it, it's a mode of transportation.
Yeah.
Great. Use it for what it's worth. Don't be so attached to it where it occupies your mind and you compromise righteousness for it. And you're caught up in it. You can't serve the Most High because you got to serve your car. You can't serve the Most High because you got to serve your woman. It's crazy. Read
I
on.
got to pull the scripture. I got to pull it. Luke 8 and 14. You right there?
Yeah, no, read it. Read it.
Luke 8 and 14.
Read that.
Luke chapter 8, verse 14.
Come.
And that which fell among thorns.
So there's different types of seeds. There's different archetypes or types of personality or patterns of people that get these scriptures. Everybody fits in a category according to Christ. This is Christ's metaphor. This is Christ's allegory. All right? This is one of those archetypes or personality types or patterns that Christ is breaking down. He said, what?
And that which fell among the thorns.
The seed that fell among the thorns, read.
Are they which when they heard, go forth.
They heard the scriptures.
Mm-hmm.
They heard the breakdowns.
But they bounce.
And they go forth. They start growing in the truth.
Mm-hmm.
But what happens? Read.
And are choked with the cares and riches.
They're choked. They are choked because the scripture is supposed to bring you life. But the desire of gain and the obsession of self, they're choked with the what?
With the cares.
Cares. Over caring. That object of multiplicity, right? Objects that break the focus. Those are the cares, right? Excessive cares of what? And what?
And riches.
Riches, things that are valuable to me. The more I gain, the more altars I get.
Yep. The more altars I build.
The more altars I build. The more images I got. The more opinions I intensify.
The more options I have.
The more options I got. According to Scripture. Read.
And pleasures.
And what?
And pleasures.
And pleasures. Because really, why am I thinking about me? Because it's about my pleasure.
It's about my pleasure.
It's about my pleasure. It's got to be. I'm not doing this for nothing. Read.
Of this life.
Of this what?
Of this life.
Read on.
And bring no fruit to perfection.
They bring no what?
No fruit to perfection.
Empty vines.
Empty vines, bro.
He said it all over the Bible. We didn't see it. I'm not bringing any fruit to perfection. Or I become a monument of an unbelieving soul. Because I'm in my sealed house, which is my mind or my physical house. Because it's about me.
You're going to be an example of what to do or what not to do. But finish that so we can finish class.
That was the end of 14.
Yeah, finish. Go back to 1 Corinthians chapter 7 and finish that. And verse 31. I think you're at 31.
Just finished 31.
They read 32.
1 Corinthians 7 and 32.
Mm-hmm.
But I would have you without carefulness.
That's what it says. I would have you without carefulness. That what?
Without care.
To be what he said when he's saying, but I would have you without carefulness, meaning I would rather you be careful.
Okay.
And to understand and to know what?
He that is unmarried careth for the things that belong to the Most High.
He's showing you that the one that's not pulled by many distractions is able to give his mind more to who?
The Most High.
The Most High. So if you're in a situation where you don't have a woman or you're not married, then you should be converting that time not in the pursuit of one. You should be converting that time to who?
The Most High.
The Most High. That was the Most High putting you in a position so you can give the Most High more of your mind. That's if you're content on your situation. Read on.
How he may please the Most High.
How he may what?
How he may please the Most High.
And so that's ultimately what the Most High is showing. What Paul is showing is that if that's where you are, then good. Then convert that opportunity, that freedom, that liberty, to give more thought process, more commitment, more dedication, more attendance to the Father. Don't be pulled in different directions. And that learning how to be okay with where I'm at is what pulls and destroys the children of Israel. Not recognizing that the Most High has me single so I can give him more time. And if the Most High has me married, or if I'm married, the Most High gave me a wife, then you know what? The wife can't be the excuse.
Yep.
The children can't be the excuse. The house can't be the excuse. Basically, there is no excuse. I got to make the Most High a priority no matter what. So with that, we're going to go ahead and end class. Shalom. The water for watching. Oh yeah. The last, you gotta do that. You gotta do it out. Go ahead, bro. Go ahead. You gotta go ahead and pull it.
Matthew 22.
Matthew 22. You
And
started.
5.
Yeah.
Wherever we go.
Matthew chapter 22, verse 25. You said start at 24?
Read from verse 1 on down real quick.
Come.
Go ahead and break it down. Let's go.
Matthew chapter 22, verse 1 reads.
Read quick.
And Yahushua answered and spake unto them again by parables, and said.
Once again, this is Christ giving an allegory, a story, trying to give people understanding. Right? Read.
The kingdom of heaven is like unto a certain king.
The kingdom of heaven is the estate of Israel. It's like a what?
It's like unto a certain king.
The king is Christ. Read.
Which made a marriage for his son.
He made a marriage for who?
His son.
His son was supposed to get married, and so his son was supposed to sit here and have a uniting of the hearts. That's what marriage means. Uniting of the heart. Read.
And sent forth his servants to call them that were bidden to the wedding.
So he's like, listen, man, I need servants for this wedding. Remember, Israel's the bride. Yep. So there's servants that are supposed to tend to the bride. Read.
And they would not come.
And they would not what?
Come.
They wouldn't tend to the bride. They wouldn't sit here and serve and get the bride ordained and prepared for the wedding with Christ.
They got the invitation.
Come.
There were no shows. Read.
Again, he sent forth other servants, saying,
He said, I need some more servants. Read.
Tell them which are bidden, behold, I have prepared my dinner. My oxen and my fatlings are killed.
He said, everything's ready to go. The kingdom's ready to go. Yep. Read.
And all things are ready.
The kingdom is ready to go. Esau's about to fall. The whole world about to collapse out. Yep. The economy is tickling. The president is stuttering. Russia's pulling the arrow out. The whole world's ready to. We're right back. We're right at the point of the precipice of the kingdom, and this is the state of the mind of Christ's servants. Read.
Come unto the marriage.
It's the time. It's the kingdom time. Read.
That's why I said the time is short. They that have wives be as though what?
They had none.
They had none.
Esau is the end of the world. Jacob is the beginning thereof. This is that point. Read.
But they made light of it.
They made what?
Light of it.
They made light of it.
Distraction, confusion from the multiplicity of objects crowding the mind.
Choked by the cares of this life.
Come. Read.
But they made light of it and went their ways.
Went their what?
Ways.
Self-pleasure, self-obsession.
Self-preservation.
Self-preservation. Me. Still house. Read.
One to his farm.
One to his what?
Farm.
His land, his property.
That's my property. Tend to my property, my business, my personal business.
My gain.
I got personal business.
My riches.
Yep.
Read.
Another to his merchandise.
My gain.
My business.
My business.
Yeah.
Read.
And the remnant took his servants and entreated them spitefully and slew them.
Wow. The turning away of the simple shall do what?
Slay them.
And the prosperity of fools shall do what? Destroy them. Because their heart is turned from the Father. Remember Lot's wife. Any more you want?
No, read on.
Read.
Verse 7. But when the king heard thereof, he was wroth, and he sent forth his armies, and destroyed those murderers, and burned up their city. They said, he to his servants, the wedding is ready, but they which were bidden were not worthy.
What made them not worthy? Because they had a bunch of excuses, and that's what made them not worthy. They had a bunch of excuses, and they had the wrong outlook, and they were too caught up in their own personal possessions, their own personal attachments, to where they couldn't recognize what Christ was doing. So they couldn't commit themselves to the wedding. That's why there were no shows, because they had too many obligations, pre-existing obligations and attachments that kept them from this wedding that Christ had already prepared, which is this kingdom that we're about to inherit.
Empty vines.
That means I'm too attached to the world's goods. That mentality. The Most High said they're not worthy. They're too attached. They don't want to let go. That's why Christ said, remember Lot's wife. You can't be caught up into what you possess, to where it's going to stop you from inheriting the blessing that the Most High has in store for you. What Lot received was salvation. What Lot's wife didn't receive was salvation. Because he told her, when I have you leave this city, don't look back. Looking back represents what? Attachment, regret. I'm missing, and I'm longing, and I'm gonna lose out on what I built. I'm too attached. I'm too connected with what I built. You can't let it go. You gotta let it go. You know people that, and we might get into this a little bit, but when you read about, anybody read Helen Keller? Story of Helen Keller in school? Who was Helen Keller? Deaf and blind, right?
Disabled.
Was it Helen Keller? No. Which ones were living in the attic during
Anne
Frank? Okay,
Yeah.
Anne Frank. Anybody know what happened to Anne Frank? She didn't make it. No, Anne Frank didn't make it, right? Diary of Anne Frank, right? Her family didn't make it. They were put to death by the Germans. But when you look at the survivors, the ones that didn't get put in concentration camps, those were the ones that when they saw what the Nazis were doing as far as corralling the people into ghettos, they got out of Germany and they fled to Russia and they fled to Poland. They left their houses, they left their jobs, and they got out, and they weren't attached to their houses. They weren't attached to their jobs. The survivors of Jewish Nazi Germany and the Jewish people that was in there, the survivors fled when they saw what was going on. And they saw the signs of an overthrow. The ones that stayed, that was too attached to their jobs, their houses, and they thought the greater good, that everything's going to be okay, those were the ones that were exterminated because they couldn't leave. And I'm only using that as an example of, that was only a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
That wasn't even 100 years ago.
Yeah, true.
That wasn't even 100 years ago. People that in this same sense, people that can't depart, that can't detach, because you've grown so accustomed to your possessions and your comfort, won't make it. The same thing Christ saying here. You can't get so attached to where you can't depart from what you built, especially if the Most High is bringing about this wedding that He's been preparing for a long time. But with that, we got to go ahead and say shalom. Imagine we'll point the down, rise and face the east. Shalom, everybody, for coming through, watching, attending. We got class again on Friday. Shalom, everybody.